I'm meant to strike. Flat earth beneath my feet, knowing I'm here to meet. Ocean's edge, it calls my name. Purpose in this life's game. Horizons line so clear, God's love brings me near. Flat earth made by him, my journey long yet thin. Purpose found in every day, guided by his gentle sway. Mountains tall they stand.
Yo, Flows, what's up? Good to see you all. Thank you for coming. I'm glad you could make it. You all rock. We have Roger in the house. How's it? And PJ. Glad you guys can make it.
Yo.
You said it's working on
Glad to be
Rumble.
here.
Yeah,
It is.
it's work. It seems like it's working for me. Hold on.
Just want to say hi to
No,
everybody.
it says
in the
it
YouTube
actually
land.
says there's 3, 4 waiting. Hold on, let me just
Good to see everybody in the YouTube land. Thank you for coming. Please hit the likes, share the show. Yeah, I'm trying to get it to work on Rumble as well, guys. So
It is
trying
working.
to see if we can get the right. Is it working?
I think so. No, wait a minute.
You
It's
can
just-
see I can only
No.
see his avatar.
Yeah, me
It
too.
still only shows upcoming for me. So,
Yeah, no, it says 4 waiting.
So I don't know how to get it to start.
Go into it and go into it itself. I think.
But
Go in.
yeah.
Go in. Oh, hold on. Go into your what's it called? Sorry.
It's almost loading for me.
Go into my content and see if you can do it that way.
My content.
Yeah.
There you
Let me give
go.
it a second.
Ready to share. No, it doesn't give me an option to actually say live or go live.
What about if you just go to the live stream tag and see if it? I don't know if it's
I'm
a
in
setup.
there. I'm in there now, but it's not
Right.
giving me a point to say go live.
What in the live stream section?
Yeah, it just says I must begin it by the 25th. That's tomorrow.
Okay.
Waiting for stream. That's all it's saying.
It's just looping right now, and with your avatar.
Okay, well, we're not going to concentrate on it right now, guys. I will try and get it to work on Rumble, hopefully by tomorrow. Otherwise, I'll just load it up as a video for now as yesterday's one. Anyway, it's good to see everybody. You guys rock. I'm glad you could make it. This is part 2. I did enjoy part 1. I'm not sure about you guys.
Yeah, it was good.
Absolutely. I thought it was. I couldn't wait for this, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's good
But
because
it's good to be here. We do have 22 votes already. Are you enjoying this debate series? Yes, 77%. No, 23%. So we can say that 23% that said no are either just trolls or butthurt Sean followers.
more than likely.
By the way, Alan Norstrand, Sean is calling you out, saying you're a coward. You ran away from him last night because you didn't show up to his stream, where he thinks you're going to be interested to have 3 viewers watching you debate him when you could be by this awesome show.
Exactly.
And anyway, he was streaming this show, so I don't know what his issue is.
Is he streaming this show now, though?
Exactly. Right? I was going to say, Flats. Can you make your mic louder by going into your avatar here and doing the mic settings?
There we go. It's at max.
There you go. It's louder. That's a bit better.
Okay, I'll put it at maximum. Because if I have to put my
That's
audio,
that's better. That's better.
Solo. If I have to put my solo any louder, it's going to have a lot of feedback.
Right. It's
You're
okay.
good. You're good now.
You're kind of on the level now.
Yeah.
On the level.
On the level.
On the level.
Literally.
But it's good to see you guys. Please hit the likes, share the show. Let's get this out to a wide audience. I got a lot of bird brain followers coming and insulting me constantly for today. So I think he shared it on Twitter everywhere.
No doubt.
Quite funny.
He's an ass.
Keep doing it, boys.
He's an absolute ass.
I'm gonna just make a few short videos on the Birdman, like I did that 50-second one, just showing what a numbskull the guy is, and that's about it. But yeah, PJ, will you put the Rumble link in for the people as well if they want to go and follow there?
Yeah, definitely.
Greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And we're gonna take it off where we got it last night. By the way, I had people moaning about last night where
Oh, hold
they said
on.
we didn't understand what entrained means
We
because
don't?
you were saying
Huh.
that as a joke, yeah, it's like training your dog. Um, guys, learn when we talk about sarcasm, but also know we are serious when we say you saying light is sentient because he's claiming light decides which path to board. Okay, that's what entrain means. You're boarding something. That means you need something that's sentient to do this. So if the light is deciding to go and follow a current of the ether and then follow this path and follow, that means it has to sentient. It has to be able to choose a path. Light is not sentient, so therefore light cannot be entrained. This
That's the Flatzoid's channel. It's not right, not to the stream because the stream's not working. This is the one straight to the channel. That
awesome.
one
Thank
now.
you very much. But yeah, I'll try figure out to get Rumble to work as well. Otherwise, I'll
Mhm.
just have to manually load the
Um,
videos on.
I mean, I'll give a video that like what you call them. I did a 7-minute video like showing how to connect it to StreamYard, and it was an easy video. Would you be able to do that and kind of put the idea into Restream if you have a look at it?
Restream doesn't give me the option.
Doesn't.
No.
You might
No,
have to
no.
do. The only thing is like you could do it in StreamYard, but then you'd have the
I have
StreamYard
issues with
logo.
StreamYard.
You
That's
do,
the
don't
issue.
you?
And I must say I'm enjoying the layout on Restream. It's
Yeah.
easy to use. It's actually I've had no issues with it. So
I've got an account with Restream, but it's just normal. It's not a paid one. But I used to be using the paid. Remember when there was me, Paul, LVA, Paul, and Michael? We all shared the same Restream, but that
yeah.
run out. But it was good. The only thing is my laptop wasn't good with it. But I haven't tried it on this computer. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, but I could give it a go one day.
Yeah. But we'll see. Okay, we're gonna start off where we left off.
Go for it.
And Witsit was asking a few questions, and then yeah, unfortunately Tim Pool got the white knighted a bit for Scott and got his question taken away from him, which I don't think was really fair. But what I do must say, I do like Tim Pool. I got nothing against the guy. I think
Seems
he's an
okay.
awesome dude.
Seems okay.
Yeah. So Tim, if you are watching this and you want to chat, hook me up, man. I'll be more than happy to discuss something.
If you look at galactic clusters, they seem to be lensing light, and if you tally up the mass that you expect to see in those galaxies based on the amount of light that you're getting from the galaxies, it doesn't add up. It doesn't seem.
Wait, it doesn't add up according to what?
So Wikipedia, our best friend, says
There we go. See, doesn't add up according to what? That was a
Wikipedia,
very
that's-
specific question.
dark matter is a hypothetical form of matter that does not interact with light or other electromagnetic radiation. Dark matter is implied by gravitational effects, which cannot be explained by general relativity unless more matter is present than can be observed. Now that's fascinating because that sounds to me, and I hate to say it, but it sounds like they have this theory and they go, okay, well the theory can't explain this thing, so something must be there then, I guess.
Exactly.
That's exactly this. This is God of the arguments, God of the gaps argument, because they have issues in their current model, their belief system, and it's invalidated. They don't want to accept it's invalidated, so they rather come up with a glue God of the gaps argument to glue that together to
Yeah.
give a reason to hold on to that model.
Absolutely.
And that's why they got dark matter, quantum foam, and all these things popping up everywhere. It's because they keep finding issues with their model.
Don't forget dark energy.
Mm-hmm.
It's a thing.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
Thing.
It has to
That's
be.
me.
Yeah, it has to be a
Thing.
thing.
Thing too. See, I gave Birdman something to talk about. So he called me thing too last time.
It's almost religious. So
But
obviously,
I'm not saying it's wrong. It's like Sudoku, right? We figure this is what's there is thing here.
Hi, my name is Ashley,
Hi,
and you can
Ashley.
create speaking
wow. Hi,
AI
Ashley.
videos just like this and make
See
their
what I
lips
mean?
move.
You know,
They look so smooth. They do look good, but so smooth. It's just so.
I hope tonight.
uncanny.
I hope tonight it's not going to do adverts like I did last night.
Oh, I tell you what, I had loads. Let me see if my ad block, even with my ad blocker on, I had loads. Is it
I
on?
don't know why,
No, it's not,
but
it's not on. I'll check. I'll put it
I
on.
don't see any setting for it tonight. So
It's
hopefully
weird.
everything's fine. Okay.
we look at the numbers and we say 2, 5, or 6 must be in this space. So my point is simply, I think it. Obviously, the point of dark matter is that we don't know, and based on what we think about general relativity, we are plugging something in we've not yet discovered.
And
Well,
it's been
actually, it
over a
goes back
century almost.
further. It goes back further than that. What they're saying is that F equals ma, which was Newton's formula, okay? Einstein's formula is G equals 8 pi tau, which is almost identical to F equals ma.
So what is F equal?
F equals ma is just on classical mechanics. Einstein is based on fourth dimension Romanian.
When did you put all them videos in Rumble?
Doesn't say. It was connected at a stage.
Ah,
Oh, Theo Megaway, thank you very much for your $5 super chat, man. You rock. He says, shout out from the 24/7 Flat Earth Discord crew. Don't forget to respectfully engage in the comments in the original video with the good Flat Earth content. Woohoo! You rock.
Nice.
Yeah, guys, shout out
Yes,
to
man.
24/7. They are awesome, and they daily make Flat Earthers. So do go support them. Really appreciate the support, Theo. You rock. But yeah, the issue I have with Tim's argument he just gave is like, yeah, we haven't figured it out yet, so that's why they gave it. No, if you're honest with yourself, you would take it and say, okay, if this shows what my model is wrong. It doesn't work. Let's go back to the drawing board. Instead of doing that, they keep the model that's just been shown wrong, and they stick something else in to try and glue it together.
That's not empirical at all, though.
of course it's not.
You can't test it. It's like, here you go. We made this pot for you.
Another just trust
Eat
me,
it.
bro.
It's just trust me, bro. Exactly.
Yeah, just trust me, bro. Exactly.
I mean,
Bro.
this is because they know if they had to denounce gravity as a thing, they won't have any foot to stand on because all their physics is based on gravity as a thing. So if they had to denounce gravity as a thing, they don't have a sphere, they don't have orbits, they don't have astronomy, they don't have anything. Everything is back to square one.
Mhm.
So it's a huge issue for them. So they have to keep that belief system and just plug in the holes with we don't know kind of thing.
RMFW, the flat earth juggernaut is unstoppable. Absolutely.
True.
What will MA mean?
Force equals mass times acceleration. So m is the mass. So if you get these galaxies are rotating 10 times faster than F equals ma will allow, what you have to do is increase the m of the equation. The m is the dark matter.
So
Mass. He's saying mass.
I said mass. Yeah, I said mass.
Yeah,
But I
and,
think he said matter. Hey, dark matter.
Yeah. When it comes to dark matter, it is such a large mass that is not observable. That's the thing. It's saying there's supposed to be a mass there, but there's no mass there.
That's just that's impossible physics.
That's why it's like
mass,
an
but
anti-mass.
you can't see the mass. Bull.
It's like an anti-mass. There's nothing
Yeah.
there, but it's giving a gravitational pull. In other words,
It's
It's
just,
I remember back when I was younger, they called it antimatter, didn't they? Way back in the day.
mm-hmm.
yeah, I think so. Yeah, exactly, Grab. Exactly, Red Eye.
you said you were a physicist?
I was a physics major.
Physics major.
Yeah, but I don't have a degree in physics.
I had a conversation with a professor once where this was 20 years ago. We were talking about string theory. I was reading a book on string theory and dimensions, and he said something like, yeah, well, now it's M theory, and there's another dimension they just added. And he was like, the issue is that it seems sometimes like a lot of these guys have dedicated their whole lives to the research of this unified theory where they're trying to figure out what's going on, and to learn that 30, 40 years of research may have been in the complete wrong direction would be emotionally shattering to these people. Yeah. So instead of saying maybe I'm wrong, they say add another dimension to make it work.
Exactly. Yeah. Same with relativity. Actually, PhD.
That's exactly what general relativity is based on. Instead of saying I'm wrong, let's add another dimension. And with string theory, that even takes it further. That's why they're sitting with 12 dimensions at the moment.
String theory.
Because every time they find an issue, they put another string into the theory.
And what's his name? Hawkins was into that string theory, wasn't he?
Michio Kaku's really into it big. That's
Michio
why I
Kaku as
specialize
well.
in. Yeah.
But Michio Kaku is at least honest to say the cosmological model is way off mathematically.
Oh yeah. 10 to the what?
Power of 20 or something.
Wow.
Too many zeros.
Physicist Robert Bennett, you know him. Shout out to him. I talked to him quite a bit. He said basically it appears you're just gonna have to wait for some of them to die. You know, like that's
that's actually what I was told. This is a really fascinating conversation because I was reading a book on a couple different books on quantum theory and things like this, and what I was told was major shifts in science happen when generations of scientists die.
Yep.
Because they over a lifetime they develop a view of the world.
Sorry, PJ.
Look at Tesla. It's right what you said there. Like it's once they pass on, that's when their work gets recognized. Look at Tesla. I mean, if it wasn't, Tesla pretty much came up with Wi-Fi.
Yeah, but that's the thing. That a lot of the things get attributed to someone after they die as well.
Mm-hmm.
That means they're like a priest, right? They're kind of like a priest, like but they pass it on.
Yeah.
Mind you, Edison gave him a hard time, didn't he?
Yeah, well, Edison didn't actually invent the light bulb, so.
No, of course he didn't.
But he's credited to it.
Yes, he just put the money out for the people who did. He just bought the inventions. He didn't do them.
More like stole.
They're emotionally attached to, and that's not an insult.
Sorry.
I'm saying he said more like stole, and I said, yeah, probably more like stole.
He stole patents, dude. That's what he did.
Of course.
And it's not to say that they're irrational or angry. It's that they see the world in this one way and they see all these pieces, and it's hard for them to turn around and look at something different. Someone who's young comes in.
But you see, Tim, that's the issue, though. That's pseudoscience. Because if it's science, it doesn't give a damn what they believe. Why do you have to wait for them to die one day to change their quote-unquote science theories? That's what shows it's not science, because you guys care what they think. They care what they think.
That's why peer review, right? That's why they get those papers. They got to make sure you're thinking like them. Yeah.
So, yeah, if it was science, they wouldn't care. If they were for science, they would say, okay, this is what I believed it was, but I was shown wrong.
Right.
So let's go back to the drawing board. That's what science is about. But they don't do this. You guys think, let's just, because they're alive, let's keep them happy because that's what they believe. Screw that. Who cares what they believe? Science doesn't care what they believe.
Not at all. Yeah, Mr. Super Sidewinder. Good to see you, bro. Good to see you again.
So yeah, it's quite alarming actually that they just accept it that way.
I don't know how they get away with it, man. Really, be honest with you, there's enough people that can think for themselves. They should be able to like say, "Hey, stop." Yeah.
And then they go and teach people that it's fact.
Yep. No proof. It's fact. Yeah.
And it's navigating the space from a different perspective, and they might notice something. So when the older generation dies, I mean, this literally explains geocentrism and heliocentrism. There's a generational shift, and then people now viewed the universe and it became mainstream conventional that we orbit around the sun. When one generation goes, the new generation believes something totally different.
Well, this is a major part of it that people need to understand. It's the Copernican principle. It's the idea that the Earth
That's
doesn't.
what your movie's about.
Yeah, that's what the principle is referring to. Yeah, the Earth doesn't occupy a special or unique position. This is like a philosophy. It's that the idea that the universe is so huge that it's illogical to think the Earth.
Let me give you a good example of how a scientist can be so biased when he's looking at that so-called evidence. Edwin Hubble, you've heard about him?
Yeah, he has a telescope named after him.
Yeah. Famous guy, famous astronomer, one of the most famous. We cover him in the movie, and in 1929, he used the Mount Wilson telescope in California, a 100-inch telescope. I mean, it's as big as this table. You could see galaxies for the first time in human history.
Wow!
So he saw them, but he saw something peculiar in these galaxies, and that was they all had a redshift of the light beams.
What year was this?
1929. Okay, and he wrote a book in 1937 describing all this called the observational, that's the key word, observational approach to cosmology. Okay. What do we see out there?
But that's all it is, dude. Observation. When you're looking at the lights in the sky, it's just observation. You can't go further than that. And that's why they've classified it now as observational sciences, because you can't actually get past observation.
Don't they want to make a star though? They're trying to make one with the hadron colliders and stuff.
Yeah,
That's probably as close as they'll get to it. That's
How
more
do we
playing
interpret
God.
it? Okay. So
Yeah,
he
that's
sees the redshift of all these galaxies, no blue shifts. How do we, I mean, this looks like the Earth is in the center of the universe. He says
So
it in the
in
book.
every direction, you see a red shift.
Right.
So can you explain redshift?
Yeah. When light travels, it can be disturbed, taken energy from it. And the light you see is going to shift more to the red end of the spectrum than it would to the blue end of the spectrum. Now, you know what light is because you see a rainbow. You see 7 colors. So it will be like seeing a rainbow with more red than usual.
And so what does that imply?
That implies if you get redshift from every angle you're looking at, okay, and you get no blue shifts, that means we, the observer, have to be in the center of it all.
So I got
just saying it's away from you. That's all. If it's blue, it would be showing it's coming towards, kind of thing.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen stars observational, and like one end's red, one end's blue. If you actually look at it hard enough through a telescope, you can see it.
Yep.
I got a riddle for you guys.
Nice.
You are in a cabin with how does this go? I'm going to ruin it. With 4 windows, and I'm ruining it. Let me look it up.
Let me finish the story first.
To finish the story.
Okay. So he says, but we can't have this. This is horrible. This is horrific. We would only accept this as a last resort to explain the phenomena that the Earth is in the center. So what do? Well, here's what we do. We get rid of the center. We get rid of the center, okay? That means we get rid of Euclidean geometry, and we make a balloon of the universe. A balloon.
Guys, see that? See what they're doing? Just listen what they're doing, because this is exactly why you guys have spherical triangles. It's exactly the same process.
has no center, just has a plastic surface, okay? We put the galaxies on the surface of this balloon, and then we blow the balloon up. So it gets wider and wider and wider. What's going to happen? Each galaxy is going to see the other galaxy move away from it, and what's it going to see? Redshift.
So you're in a house with 4 walls facing south. You step outside and see a bear. What color is the bear?
What?
You're in a house with 4 walls facing south.
Okay.
You step outside and see a bear. What color is the bear?
That's irrelevant. First of all, you're in a house with 4 walls. You're facing south. You step outside. You see a bear. What color is the bear?
White.
First of all, you can't get outside the house because there's no door.
Huh.
How do you step outside?
I get it now. Yeah.
I think that's what it's about.
Yeah.
4 walls facing south.
You step outside and see a bear. What color is the bear?
I don't know.
Anybody?
I believe it's 4 walls facing. Oh, yeah. Okay.
What color is the bear?
It's not.
Wow, he's trying to make it look like he understands what's going on.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, polar bear, Coral. It's white.
Not white?
Well, okay, it is white because you're at the North Pole.
Exactly.
The walls are facing south.
All right.
So that's what this reminds me of.
Yeah.
How could it be that your house is facing south in every direction?
Yeah.
You're clearly on the North Pole.
Yeah.
The only direction you can go from there would be south.
Perfect. I'm going to use that.
And so the riddle.
But,
good one, though.
but ours still doesn't make sense because you didn't say there's a door. Or when you
Yeah, you
just said there's 4 walls facing south.
I did say white to begin with, though. I got it.
Yeah, because polar.
Yeah.
But That's what I'm saying. I would more or less think, okay, is there a door? If he says door, okay, then it's a different story. But he didn't say doors or anything. So like, how do you step outside?
You step through the window.
But in the window, he just said four walls facing south.
I got you. Yeah.
What does a bear have to do with my house facing south? But if you actually break it down, you're like, how could your walls only face south? You're at the North Pole. The only bear that you're going to find up there, I don't even know if polar bears are at the North Pole, but whatever.
Okay,
That's
so
the
let me just
joke.
put the finishing touch on this, the icing on the cake. So the guy, he says, we expand the balloon. You see redshift. We don't have any more Earth in the center. Problem solved. Okay, so Father Lemaitre comes along, Belgian priest, Catholic.
Jesuit preacher.
Jesuit, yeah.
I've heard of the guy
Makes with
before.
the Big Bang.
Yeah, boom.
Comes up with the Big Bang.
The big bonk.
And says, okay, let's do this. Let's reverse the expansion and make it go down to what happened at the beginning. And you can't define what happened at the beginning. That's why they call it a singularity. But they're figuring it took 13.78 billion years for it to start here, and then expand to the point where we see redshift everywhere. You see, and that's how you get out of an Earth-centered universe by rearranging the universe into a Riemannian two-dimensional balloon instead of a Euclidean.
It's not two-dimensional.
Balloons are two-dimensional.
Romanians
Three-dimensional.
Four-dimensional.
Oh yeah, with the Romanian,
Yeah,
Einstein crap.
three-dimensional.
Yeah, big bunk, exactly. Mr. Superside right now. The big bunk.
Just make
There's
sure.
somebody knocking my door.
Yeah,
Intermission.
four-dimensional.
Yeah, it's four-dimensional. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just four-dimensional.
How do you get four dimensions?
By just adding
Space and
something
time.
you're just adding another space or time.
Yeah.
Space and time.
That's
So
it.
five.
Makes no sense to me at all. Even
Stupid door.
But remember,
Living
this
three
whole thing
dimensions.
is. Remember, all of it is based simply on math anyway. So the
course.
math dimension, you can have 100 dimensions if you really wanted to. It
Yeah.
doesn't make it reality.
do you think it's like
It's all man-made. It's all man-made concepts.
Yeah.
Space and time are man-made concepts.
I keep saying you can describe a lot of things with math, but the thing, it's just it can describe it, but it's not the reality. It's the math is not the reality of it, but it can't describe it. But it's not the math is not that reality. It's silly.
Yeah, it's just the language.
Yeah.
It's just descriptive.
kind of reminds me of SO above
Geometry with a
Remind you of?
the old adage as so above so below. It's
All right.
he's drawing a dimension out of it. He's trying to make space part of the same, I guess, math that goes on here. It didn't work out very well. Got
So
waves
I think
out there.
the argument they make is that the universe is expanding, and we're not in the center of it, but is expanding. It's still expanding around us. Thus, you will see a redshift regardless.
Yeah.
So if you know the way you're describing it is if you're on this balloon, even if we were on the leftmost surface of it, as it's expanding, we're going to see things even right next to us redshifting as they're moving away from us.
yeah, but we're going to see blue shifts too. That's the
where
issue.
how would you see a blue shift?
Because you're closer to the light now, and it's not going to have the same kind of stretching that it had when you were in the center.
But it's still moving away from you. So no matter where you are on an expanding surface, everything's moving away from you.
Very slowly. So you're
Right.
not going
Yeah,
to.
but you're gonna have different amounts of redshift because he's calling it a balloon. A balloon is almost teardropped. It's not a
Yeah.
sphere.
Yeah, exactly. It's
I think that's what Tim's not really understanding. He's talking about
blitz,
balloon.
right?
Yeah.
Well, it won't even out, will it? At that rate,
Yeah,
with
it
the
won't.
teardrop
Yeah, 'cause
shape.
it's not a
No.
perfect sphere. Yeah.
get an intense redshift. It's going to shift to the blue end of the spectrum now.
Or I don't think it wouldn't shift to blue. It would just be less red.
Sure,
It would be
shift to blue. It has nowhere else to go.
But if it's moving away from you, isn't it still going to be red?
It's moving slowly away from you because you're near the edge.
So why would that? So even if it's moving away from you, it could have a blue shift.
No, it'll shift more to the blue end of the spectrum. It's not going to have the same amount of redshift. You
I see what
we're
you're
talking
saying.
about degrees here.
Yes,
this has actually all been disproven too. You can look up like all the redshift anomalies. There are things that are way closer to things that are super far away. They have way more redshift though. Right.
But so the universe is expanding.
No. That's the philosophical assumption required to get rid of the idea the Earth could be in the center. Hubble actually said it was intolerable and horrific. It shows that it implies the Earth's in the center, akin to what everyone thought throughout mankind. But we're going to avoid that at all costs.
Well, so if the universe isn't expanding,
Hey, Sean. Yeah. When I was younger, I wrote a physics equation that calculated how fast a girl's affection for me was increasing. She was very impressed, but I didn't realize it was heavily biased due to what I had assumed. And that's the globe in a nutshell. They make an equation that's biased, and because the equation says this, therefore it is.
I get it. Yeah, that's funny.
Mm-hmm.
They're in love with the ball.
what explains the redshift?
There are many theories actually.
There's a very simple one. When you have
Why
a
wouldn't they really let Witzer talk there? It's like every time he tries to talk, they kind of just don't want, it's like shifting it away from him almost.
Mm-hmm.
Really weird.
galaxy out there and the light beam leaves the galaxy, the gravity of the galaxy is going to pull on that light beam. And it's going to turn it into a redshift.
It's going to slow it down, effectively.
Yeah.
And there's something called the tired light theory, which is the idea that it attenuates proportionate to distance. So similar to how like a laser can't go as far through water as air, it attenuates, it gets absorbed into the medium. So that would do it. There's also
like light is passing through things that interfere.
Yeah, it could be it. That was the first theory.
Yeah, and I actually think that it's electromagnetic retardation. It's actually been shown that.
But you can't say that.
You don't believe that galaxies are millions of light years away to begin with.
That doesn't matter at all.
It does.
No, it has nothing to do with what he just said.
No.
Absolutely nothing.
What does Scott have to add to this argument at all, dude? He just like, here I am.
Scott just wants to interject to say he's there, exactly.
Yeah.
It literally doesn't matter at all.
It does.
But why?
Because you're talking about a light attenuating over great distance. Like, you don't even believe in those distances. Like, how do you even
I don't believe in the medium either.
No.
You don't believe in ether?
No. Well, okay. So now we're introducing a medium and maybe even another medium. And let's also introduce some plasma because it's been proven in a lab, unlike your belief of redshift, that photons, quote unquote, which I won't get into that. They redshift through plasma.
So you
redshift through
don't
plasma
think you can
proportionate to
replicate
the medium.
redshift? You don't think that you can get Doppler shift on a spacecraft traveling out from the Earth?
That's not what he's talking about. This guy's literally just trying to argue just to argue.
Yeah, absolutely.
He says, yes, the distance matters. He says, okay, why? And his answer is because distance matters.
You ever been to a restaurant and get a hair in your food? It's kind of like that. It's got like a hair in your food.
Oh, man.
Take it back.
Yeah, of course. With frequency, and then you get into like sound and sound and light, and what's the difference between the two?
You said you couldn't recreate it. Like we can test redshift.
No. What I said was your theory has been proven wrong, and the reason it's been proven wrong is because the observations don't actually match the theory. For example, quasars, supernova, and I could go on. When these are observed significantly closer to Earth in your paradigm, there's way more redshift than things that are further away. Also, the redshift isn't.
Wait, you're saying that the quasars are further away than the galaxies?
No, he's saying the redshift doesn't match what you just said with your expanding balloon. Things that are closer is supposed to have more redshift, but has less redshift. It doesn't match.
Well,
That's
can
what
I
he's
play
saying.
devil's advocate right quick? Didn't Robotham always go to parallax? It was like distances would acquire parallax, and especially in an orbit, right?
Yeah, but that's what redshift is practically based on, is parallax.
Huh. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
But there's still a distance. The distances don't make any sense with that neither. I mean, you would observe the stars parallaxing, right? You would see it.
But that's why they work with astronomical units, because it's so far away you can't really observe it.
So you can't see it.
Time. Yeah, it takes long for the it takes a while for the light to reach the observer to show this parallax.
When I go look at stars and even with telescopes, I never had like problems like they wasn't there. Like the light's there, dude. It's like instant.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's at the end of the day, it's all just based on assumption. They have a bias and they base everything on that assumption.
I'm saying that their model doesn't actually add up. That it's just based on.
Yeah, I know, but you said it looks like it's far away, but it isn't. Now that's the theory that goes along with quasars being way far away and galaxies being rather close to us. And Halton Arp, you know.
Yeah, Halton Arp, that's who I was about to plug.
He's the one that said, no, that's not what's occurring.
Exactly.
What's occurring is the galaxies are creating the quasars, and they're right next to the galaxies.
Right.
And he actually showed filament between the two.
Yeah.
So the whole theory that the quasars are way far away and we see a greater redshift is false.
Yeah, but because they just had to assume that, right? Because it had greater redshift.
Yeah.
But like Halton Arp, this is a perfect example of what happens. People call this science. It's basically a cult, though. Halton Arp was like revered almost, like completely respected astronomer, like world renowned, like had things named after him. And he comes out pointing out that redshift doesn't work. And he ends up writing a second follow-up called Seeing Red, which is a play on how he's like getting angry because he's being blacklisted. He gets blacklisted. He gets the right to actually use observatory telescopes revoked from him because he comes out and speaks out against redshift. That is not.
What does that tell you? That's not science. That's pseudoscience. It
Pseudoscience,
shows what it's
it
called.
was.
Yes.
And this is exactly why every time you talk against pseudoscience, what do they just do? They insult you. You
They
guys
harm
are
you.
stupid. You don't know what science is. Blah, blah, blah. You're science deniers.
Yep.
In
Yep.
the meantime, we're calling them out for pseudoscience.
Dude, it sounds like they sabotaged his career by not letting him go to telescopes and
But
do
that
his
is
work. Yeah. That's not right, dude. I mean, if you put all your life into a science or a study, you should be able to do it, regardless of what your opinion is or what you observe. That they're not actually going with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very biased.
Science.
Well, it's because it's against the Big Bang.
Yeah, it's a cult. It's a cult, and that's what the Copernican principle is. All the evidence shows the Earth is in the center, and no one knows any of this. It's been omitted from the consciousness of people. And then you get into the physical test; it just definitively proves it.
I want to say something here
I
that
actually wish Whitsitt would have just said straight out, it's pseudoscience.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Because if he said pseudoscience, it would have made more of an impact than just saying it's a cult.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because now people are saying, oh, religious nuts kind of thing, you know, instead of looking at the scientific aspect, say, okay, why is it pseudoscience? If he said it was pseudoscience, they would have more clicked into the head, yeah. But because he's saying cult, they're going to harbor on looking at it as a religious side, and a lot of atheists will just think, oh, this guy's just a religious nut.
is a dimension of this that deals with my major study, which is theology. And that is this, that if the Earth is in the center of the universe, that means somebody had to put it there, because it's not going to get there by time and chance.
Is that, would some argue then that you are incentivized to push theories towards the idea of a geocentric universe?
I would never do that.
Well, I would say even
what I'm trying to say is I would go by the evidence. If the evidence supports that theory, we went through Michelson-Morley, we went through Airy, we went through the cosmic microwave background radiation, we went through Hubble's Big Bang universe, where that came from. That's enough for me to say I don't have a bias because the evidence supports what I just said.
Now, Tim, can you flip it around, though? Now, flip around what you just asked him. Could it be said that people have a bias against the idea of intelligent design, therefore exclude the possibility of geocentrism? Because that is very clearly what is happening. Stephen Hawking literally says, I can't disprove geocentrism. I reject it on grounds of modesty. Hubble calls it intolerable and horrific. Lawrence Krauss says it's coming back to haunt us. The Copernican principle is coming back to haunt us in his film. There is a bias against intelligent design, similar to how modern academia is overwhelmingly drowning in liberalism.
I agree. It is a bias. They don't want a creator to be there. And this is why when we get the people like, oh, what is the reason they would be doing this? How would everybody be lying? Well, we can't divine one's motives, but there's definitely a bias out there showing they don't want creationism to be shown a thing.
Feynman actually Feynman makes a mockery out of God on a regular basis, and he talks crap about revelations that every book in the Bible. He watch any of his lectures, man. He does not like God or the Bible whatsoever.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But
So
I
that
mean,
they're
if
eight. Sorry, go
but
ahead.
I mean, if you look at it this way, even the Globers that are creationists get shunned from the community.
Yep.
They blacklist them and stuff. They make them as if they're these clowns and ignorant and things,
Hmm.
just because
Backwoods.
they believe that we created. And this is exactly why I agree with what Sid is saying, because as soon as you go against the mainstream, not created narrative, because they need naturalism to be a thing, which by default goes against the first law of thermodynamics because it's called self-creation. They can say, scream on top of their lungs as much as they want, just like Aaron Ra and Matt Delahanty did with me. It was always there. There is no such thing as always there. You can't observe something that's just always been there. It
No.
had to be created. This is
Oh,
observed reality as a fact. Okay? Just because they say that, it doesn't make it fact. So there is a bias towards a creator, and this is why I think Flat Earth gets such a bad rap, you could say, because they don't want people to fall for creationism. They don't want to know there is a God that created you for a purpose. He created us in this stationary enclosed plane for a purpose. They don't want that. Why? Just like the Bible says, Satan is the father of this world. We are not of this world. We just live in this world.
that's right.
True.
We fight
100%.
against principalities and dark powers.
Yeah.
Well, modern academia in terms of science is drowning in atheism, and it actually implements philosophical bias at this point, and they can't have a creator. Well, I would say that even in the mainstream model, you still need a creator, right? You could, but it doesn't matter. The point is, like, you see that every atheist I've ever talked to, I said, so if the Earth were in the center, let's say hypothetically, do you agree that it had to be put there? None of them deny that it drastically increases the chances of intelligent design at the least, right? Because if it's in the center of the whole universe.
And in Scientific American, it says 90% of the major scientists are atheists.
There you go.
So there's your incentive.
Yep.
Tim, I sent you a video because we were talking about so much scientific stuff. I want to talk about maybe a little less scientific stuff. I sent you a video on X where you're from Chicago, and you know this, Tim. You can go out there, and this is because I got to shut down Bob, even though I like you, Bob. If you go out there, if you
try.
pull up that video, if you look across Lake Michigan, Tim, you can see the entire skyline of Chicago. I sent it to you on X.
Let me.
What elevation, though? How high are those dunes?
Oh my God.
How are those dunes, he says. Yeah, they don't like the Lake Michigan.
The observation? Yeah.
They don't like it at all.
It's a mirage.
It's a mirage.
You're talking about being able to see it. How
I just want to say real quick, there's this expanded flat Earth map that makes me wish the flat Earth stuff was real. You've seen this, I imagine, right?
Yeah.
The world beyond the ice wall. Mm-hmm. The idea being that the world as we know it is surrounded by this wall of ice, but outside of it are advanced civilizations.
Yeah.
And then there's another ring, and I'm like, that'd be so cool.
That would.
It's like there's like an advanced. So there's Odin, the walls.
I see this as a controlled opposition thing.
Yeah.
But this is also because I do believe in the biblical cosmology, where it specifically says the water's around. So why would there be lands around that as well?
Exactly.
What I think we should do is explore.
I mean,
out,
I mean, how would anybody know this? I mean, what they're saying is that outside the firmament.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I mean,
That'd be
it's
outside
over
the
that as
firmament, because
well.
the firmament would be where Antarctica is.
Yeah, exactly. So then what then? So how are they contained if they are not? Well, must be another container.
well, what makes them more advanced than we are? Why would they be more advanced civilizations outside of anything anyway?
Yeah, and why haven't they actually had any interaction with us?
Yeah, they say they have though in some books back in the 40s and 50s that a couple guys wrote. They went past the ice wall and they found other civilizations. You like read the Iron Republic and stuff like that. You look into it. They say they had flat
Yeah,
screen
but
TVs and
that's my
hovering
point.
cars. And crap.
That's my point. If they've had those interactions, why haven't they till this day just why don't you see these people from these civilizations actually moved to pieces of land here? There's still a lot of unused land with a lot of resources. Why don't we have them there?
I have no idea. Probably not because they're not there. They don't exist. More than likely, just like the land in the center of the earth too. You don't have people living in cities under the ground.
Mm-hmm.
They don't
Yeah.
crawl up and say, "Hi, how you doing?"
Yeah, so
Well,
I do see this land, past as a psyop thing. I
I
do
get
see
you.
it as that. Um, but that's just my opinion. I'm not gonna say it's not possible that this land further, but I I don't see it. I don't see any show for it. Let's put it that way.
you ever heard of the gates? Their north, south, and east gates in the ice wall. Supposedly, they'll thaw out and you can pass through during the solstices. This is an old myth that I've heard growing up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't see people going there though.
Of Asgard, the scorched wastes, Osiris, Nemo, Lemuria, and it's like we are trapped as sort of trapped in this zoo.
Yeah, but the point is now to make a map like this, you would have to travel to those lands. You understand? So you would have some kind of documentation for this. There's nothing. It's just all of a sudden there's a map for this. Who made the map? When did they make the map? When did they do the cartography to make this map? You understand? So that's why I say there's a lot. To me, it's a lot of psyoping about this. I don't trust it. I'm not saying anybody shouldn't.
No, I don't
But
just
the
no
point to
way.
me, I don't trust it.
I don't.
Yeah,
I
guys.
mean, it's along the same lines as what the Flat Earth Society put out. I know they don't put out that, but it's that kind of thing, you know.
Yeah, but it's more physical possibilities with this one than the spinning ball. I mean,
True.
That's
True.
also actually true the way Sean does say it. He says, if the biblical model of the multiple layers of firmament is reality, then it's technically and spatially possible for additional land outside our firmament, but we couldn't access it. That's also true, but don't you think it would also then talk about lands in those separate firmaments, though?
probably.
Yeah.
Around this ice ring, and if only we could penetrate it, we could get to the great land of Aten and Atlantis.
Well, General Admiral, or is it Admiral Byrd? Was it General Byrd or Admiral Byrd? It doesn't matter.
Admiral.
He went to Antarctica. He was like the first explorer to really explore it. And he said that there's enough resources in Antarctica to supply the whole entire world. And so there is stuff in Antarctica that doesn't make sense that we don't know about.
A major problem for flat Earth, though, if you look at that map, Tim, you've got South America pointing one way, you've got Australia pointing another way. How are they both able to?
He's going to put the stars again. Oh, my
yeah.
word. We've explained this so many times. Even Whitsett and them have their own way to explain this based on even using just light attenuation. So it's quite insane that Astronomy Live Scott's still trying to push this. It's been explained many times. You're looking in the same direction. You're still looking south.
Yes. And south's away from the north,
See
right?
the south side.
Yeah. Because the stars are in the firmament, it's internal reflection. That's why you see the same stars looking south. And you have things called time zones. So they're not exactly the same time seeing the same stars. This has also been explained to them. And also, when you're looking, you're not looking directly south. For instance, you look at the Southern Cross. Some you look a bit southeast, some you look a bit south north, southwest. You don't look exactly dead on south. And they ignore these things. They don't understand how location works.
Nope. They don't know how to map, let alone that much.
Mm-hmm.
celestial pole looking south.
At different times.
To be fair, I will say this.
Why do you always omit that it's at
I don't-
different times?
The flat Earth theorists do not believe this is a real map.
No.
It's a fantasy.
This
funny
is the
thing
this is the thing, right? There's a model that claims to know exactly what the Earth is, and then there's a group of people who heard the insanity that people think it's flat or whatever. So they just went and challenged it and looked into it, and they've suspended belief of the globe model. You know, this definitive flat Earth model thing is not popular within people who would say that they are flat earthers. We don't know. We can't even privately explore it, right? The empirical measurement shows
I
that.
agree with what's there. Because this is the truth. They do push it on everybody as if we are making this humongous bold claim that the Gleason's map is everything. You know, it's how many times do we have to explain to them you can use it for certain things? It's got its I can't think of the word now.
I do that sometimes.
It's got its
Got its
purpose.
flaws.
Yeah, it's got its purposes, but it's not a map or model that explains everything. It's very specific to a purpose it was made for, which is time and date. That's it. It was made for a time and calculation. It's not made for distances. It's not made for a lot of the things they want to push onto it. Now, do we see a lot of anomalies? Do we see a lot of the times people use the Gleason's map to say, for instance, flight paths that don't work on a globe but it works there? I say yes.
Yeah, but some of us like to swear on it and say they're going to go to Antarctica and prove that it's right. I'm not going to go into names.
Yeah.
That the Earth is not curving at the rate that they say. And we don't need Chicago. You can see Canigou Mountains from 160 miles away.
Which the globe predicts.
It literally does. And this
It
is
literally does. It literally does. You can
no,
go.
the globe doesn't predict you see Mount Canigou 160 miles away. That's a total lie. Guess what he's going to say? Refraction.
Guaranteed. Guaranteed.
It pulls it up to you.
Superlumin. Yeah, superlumin refraction, man. Based on a what? A radius value that you've already assumed that was measured from a flat baseline. Quite
There's
crazy.
a way around that too. If you keep observing the same thing for more than 30 days or so, it's still there. It just keeps appearing, man. It's all refraction though.
Thank you, Sean, for your $10 super chat. Really appreciate it. He says 1 Enoch 39 and a testament of Levi 3 speak of dwelling places of angels in the multiple layers, and Revelations 21 is the continent-sized land, but it's seemingly described above us, not horizontally outside of us all. That's what I say. It is possible that it could be that way, but yeah, that's more layered upwards, as you said. It's weird, but I really appreciate the super chat. You rock. We should actually have a discussion about this. I think it'll be an interesting discussion to talk about lands above and scriptural basis on it. I think it can be quite an interesting discussion.
It would.
But thank you very much for the super chat. You are awesome, man. Okay.
Go check it out.
So is this
the elevation of?
Is this an inaccurate depiction or?
Yeah,
inaccurate.
Straw man.
What's wrong with that picture?
Well, just like a disc in space.
Is this an inaccurate? No, duh.
We're just floating there, buddy. Attached to nothing.
I don't know, Charles. Why would Elon lie? Because he's making a lot of money doing this.
Absolutely.
I don't know what.
It's just the demographics of the continents and how far they are away and the seas and everything. That's pretty accurate.
It's pretty accurate. When you get to the south, it's interesting because we actually dug into the GPS data, and in the south they make what's called meridian corrections. So they actually are pulling out land, like distance, out of the meridians, in between the meridians. Which
you have to. Whenever you flatten a globe, you have to do that.
Well, what I'm saying is, if it's really a globe, right, then we wouldn't have to do that for the actual raw GPS data, but they do. They also make SAGNet corrections, which is another falsification of relativity.
Well, that should tell you that the GPS is based on a globe Earth.
No, it's based on a coordinate system. That's all it's telling you. It's not based on a globe. The coordinate system is wrapped around your globe to give it. That's why they make the corrections. Even when you do celestial navigation, use plane boats and things, they have corrections for magnetic. They have declination and inclination corrections.
Yeah, there's not an
Believe it or not,
imaginary
this
line
is
on the ground.
what's been fair to the public is not correct. The GPS coordinate system should not physically have to move to that if it was a globe.
No.
It's just based on a grid system, which is latitude and longitude grid system, which is based on flat.
Yeah, again, when God made the earth, He didn't draw a line there where it was. They're imaginary. Yeah.
Yeah, but they see that's when you get to the issue with the Christian, though, if they're a Christian glober. They got a lot of issues where they have to ignore things said in scripture.
Yep.
They just have to ignore it.
Or
Or they
reinterpret.
have to they have to reinterpret it. Exactly.
Of course, but the point is that they have to run it through corrections to get the final longitude output, which shouldn't happen. And this is what I want to point out, though. Like, there are physical tests that show that the Earth's not curving at the rate that they say that it is. So the Earth is measured flat. I wonder if we could all agree on this, that flat Earth is actually the default position, because it's always flipped around, right? Well, the horizon's horizontal. When we build things in civil engineering, we actually use plane survey. We do it flat. We connect horizontal. So bridges, runways, railways, canals, when we fly planes, all aviation, we have to treat the Earth like it's flat. Sea level, elevation is a distance above that. Whenever we actually got the latitude system, we took elevation angles to Polaris from a flat horizontal baseline that extended all the way to the zenith.
That doesn't prove anything.
No,
It does prove a lot. It means it was flat, and then you took your bias of the globe and placed it on in calculation of that flat measure. In other words, they fly a plane not like it's over a globe. You build a railway like it's not over a globe. You build a bridge like it's not over a globe. Everything you do is based on flat, stationary. That's it. It's not hard to understand.
That's strange, man. It is.
Amen, Tyler.
Well,
It just proves that map works.
Trilateration only works on the globe, though.
No.
No.
Trilateration doesn't only work on a globe. Trilateration works on any shape. It's literally just it's just receiving. What the hell is this guy saying trilateral? And by the way, when he was talking about for instance now the grid system, it's not talking about trilateration, for instance. Thank you, Theo. We're ready for another $2 search. Says Earth being flat as measured, finally mentioned. Exactly. It's measured flat. It's always measured flat, Theo. You rock. Really appreciate the super chat. Thank you very much.
You can only get your position from the globe. Like you have to actually know the orbits of the satellites.
But there is no
I
satellite.
have a
no, there are satellites. Satellites disprove heliocentrism, and the actual path is nothing more than a projection. So
I have a quick question. It's very rudimentary. Not going to get into deep science or anything. I once flew to New Zealand, and I'm looking at these flat Earth maps, and I'm like, I can't quite explain the path of the flight as it pertains to the flight I actually went on. So I know which direction we left from the airport, and I know I did not fly north or westward.
You're over water the whole time? Most of the time? Yeah.
And so that would imply that after we flew south beyond the visual, the ability to identify any landmass, the plane then hooked right. So it implies that when I flew from New York to Los Angeles to New Zealand, and I got these maybe these maps are inaccurate representations of what flat earthers believe, but if I left from Los Angeles and we started flying south, which we did, as soon as we left the visual area so that no one on the plane could identify it, the plane then turns right. So it flies straight down and then hooks right.
No.
No.
You guys know if they, like, for instance, go south or something, it's not perfectly south. It's usually a bit southeast or southwestly kind of direction. And notice that, especially on a long bank, the plane almost doesn't even seem like it's having a bank at all.
No.
To take a great circle route.
And by the way, it flies level, right, Flats?
Yes, it
Are
does.
you sure
And
about
does
that?
the
reason.
Are you
does the pitch
sure?
data and does the pitch data show that the plane accounts for dropping over a curve?
So it'd be kind of like a straight shot, wouldn't it? Almost. Yeah,
Mm,
yeah,
yeah,
New Zealand's right there. Yeah,
exactly. It's weird.
I know. How does that work?
Instead of just flying straight to New Zealand. I don't believe that happened.
Well, planes are always making corrections based on cardinal direction, so you're not going to be able to tell in a plane. But
I can tell that we didn't fly west or north.
How?
And so
Wait.
we
How do you tell that? Did he have a compass with him? Did he know?
No, he doesn't, dude. Didn't somebody take a compass on a couple of those flights, and they weren't flying where their heading said on the back of the display they had on the plane? They were going in another direction. Yeah.
I mean, you don't actually know precisely how they fly. Flight times aren't exactly the same as well. They do differ because even flights have to do dead reckoning while they're over the ocean.
Do they have exact distances? That's what I'm trying to get out of it too. I don't think they have the exact distance, especially over water.
No, they take it on distance and time. So they take last known position and then they go from there.
when we departed, we were flying south.
If you left South America and went to New Zealand, you could go there on a globe map straight to New Zealand. If you turn that into a flat Earth map, the flat Earth map would require you to dip down to make like a semicircle and then go up to New Zealand. That's a fact.
Well, yeah, there are many paths that make more sense on, like, say, the azimuthal projection than the globe, and they claim all kinds of things. They didn't stop for gas or whatever. And I'll make it very clear, actually, I don't claim definitive projections. If we've been misled about the nature of the Earth, which I think the evidence is overwhelming that we have been, it would be very naive to think that we have a perfect depiction of the very thing that we were misled about. Of course we don't. Now, in the north, 90% of the world population here, we have a better grasp of it, but it's just a projection thing. And bringing up the satellite thing, that's kind of like a misnomer that like satellites can't exist on a flat Earth. Actually, satellites, for one, disprove heliocentrism, because they actually have to account for inertial forces. They account for centrifugal forces, which are considered fictitious and pseudo forces in your paradigm. They can't exist. So if there are actually satellites being put up there, they're accounting for the angular momentum of a rotating universe around a stationary Earth with inertial forces, centrifugal, Coriolis, and Euler forces. Those can exist in your paradigm. They don't exist in Newtonian mechanics. Those are forces external to Newtonian mechanics, and they don't exist in Einstein. So just point that out.
It's trying to.
Satellites are actually.
What's it trying to what? What's it trying to tell you the truth?
Yeah, he made a good point there. It was excellent. I'm proud of him.
Whitsett's doing well, and yeah, the reason he has to talk so fast, guys, is because usually when he talks, people have to stop him from talking, like Scott was trying to do now.
I love them. This idea that I'm scared of satellites. Well, I see Starlinks. I watch many launches. I don't have a problem with it. I have a Starlink. You know, I haven't set up the internet yet, but I have one.
How do they stay up there?
Well,
yeah, Tony, that's an interesting thing. There have been people taking compasses on planes, and it doesn't seem to take the same path as the flight claimed. So it's an odd thing. But the thing is, they do say you can't really use a compass on a plane. It gets interacted by the magnetic fields and all that, and then the plane, how it's built, makes it go haywire, apparently. So it doesn't give an accurate reading. You know, there's always an excuse for something.
Mm-hmm. Is that true? I don't think that's true. I think compasses work regardless whether you're on a plane, boat, walking down the street. They do this exact same.
No, but they claim the way the plane's built, the magnetic field gets interrupted, so it doesn't work with a compass perfectly. Only in the cockpit will a compass work properly, apparently.
Weird, huh?
Yeah, Catherine, Matters Now is a shameful place. I don't think anybody should be subscribed to Matters Now. I think they should boycott them totally, because they are real bigots. They are haters of anything flat Earth and anybody that believes in Christianity, for that matter. The last time I was on there, they had the audacity to have a man on, thinking he's a woman, attack my faith very, very bad, and I'm not allowed to stick up for it. And as soon as I state fact, well, you can't really say anything based on Christianity because you don't even know you're a man because you have an identity crisis. Yeah, well, they swore at me and kicked me off the show. Yeah, but
Nice.
that guy that I said was a factual fact. If you're a man, you're a man. That's a fact. Is wrong. So yeah, it's very bad. And then what do? They just keep making streams about saying how anti what what's it? I'm what's that phobia, whatever they call it?
Transphobic.
Transphobia. Very
Yeah,
transphobic because I
transphobic,
call them.
or
Yeah, apparently,
xenophobic, everything.
yeah, I'm a racist. I'm a transphobic. I'm an anti-Semitite. I'm everything. Just because I state the fact. So I say when it comes to Matters Now, I think everybody should boycott them and just let them be. By the way, even Matters Now attacked me earlier before the stream on Modern Day Debates chat
Really?
in Discord. Yeah,
Nice.
told me I'm not allowed to post my flat Earth stuff there. Yeah,
It's an open platform, right?
yeah. So that's what I think of Matters Now.
That's a bigot and a racist in my head. That wouldn't make you do that.
Yeah. So I don't think Matters Now is anything other than a propaganda channel that only wants to push their hatred towards anybody that disagrees with them. But let's get back to the show.
Absolutely.
Well, that's the equations. The physics and equations say they're using the spinning universe. That's what is factually in the equations. It says that it uses centrifugal force. So like if you had a ball tied to a rope and you spin it, right, it's going to keep going in a circle because you're pulling it, but the ball has a tendency to move out away from you. It's going to keep going around because you're pulling it. That's called centrifugal force. They have to account for this and the real Coriolis force, which is like an inward centripetal force, so a radially inward force.
Yeah, let them know there's a difference between Coriolis force and Coriolis effect because they still don't get that. By the way, the data, I hope he brings up flight data because that would say there is no flight data accounting for any of these things. There is no pitch data covering for the curve. There is no data showing the account for the Coriolis force. There is no data showing the account for the centrifugal forces, as he just says. So therefore, not a moving globe Earth.
For the satellite equations, according to the heliocentric model, there is no such thing. That shouldn't.
How would they stay above a flat?
They're on balloons. Type in satellites on balloons. I'm telling you, they're
not all on balloons.
They're not all on balloons, but there's satellites that were on balloons.
Yeah, it was called
Samsung.
Project.
I think some geocentric satellites are on balloons.
No,
I do think
Yeah.
so.
They have to be completely stationary.
definitely. Okay,
I mean,
what about
you can-
Starlink? What's Starlink?
And there's a lot of information out there like Project Saloon. I mean, from the 1950s, they were actually experimenting, putting balloons up for months at a time.
Mm.
Okay. NASA and all that. So they still do it. They're still one of the biggest purchasers of helium till this day. Because of that, they do send a lot of satellites on balloons up in the sky daily. There's
Yeah, I thought it
footage
was-
of this happening.
4,000 a day. I thought that they released for weather information and data. That's
Where
what they
the
do.
balloons are, weather balloons. There's a lot of weather balloons. Why wouldn't there be satellites as well? Remember, the satellites will just work as relays. It's as simple as that. So if you have a geocentric weather balloon up there, it's just a satellite that's a relay for a ground-based system. Even till this day, you still have the military using things like ELORAN and DLORAN. It's ground-based GPS. They still use it till this day. They have always used it. They disbanded CLORAN, but that doesn't mean they still don't have other ground-based GPS.
Balloon.
I'm just saying. So
Google,
they say
Google
there's
launched
satellites.
a bunch of balloons carrying internet nodes.
Exactly.
So they could float over
I'm
the
saying.
earth.
So
the
that's not a
military al- the
conspiracy.
military
I'm just saying
also
they
has
use
them.
balloons, and NASA is the uses
So
more
Elon's
helium
actually
than-
just launching balloons, but putting on
You
a
can
show.
type in.
No,
you
no,
can
I
type in
don't
NASA. They do balloon launches. Literally,
I know.
type in.
Yeah, they
Right.
can do that if it's low Earth orbit. But if you have a weather satellite that's out there at 22,200 miles, you're not going to get a balloon out there.
See, I totally disavow those distance claims, and because the way that
measured
they
them
do it, they
myself.
take the signal and that's cool. So what equation do you use to determine distance?
Parallax. You just use simple trigonometry. It's basic trigonometry.
Parallax.
Really? So what's the length of your baseline?
Well, let's see. For space station, it was 760 meters.
760-meter baseline to determine the distance to the space station.
Yeah, remember what he did with Red's rhetoric. This is what the contention I had with them. They were across the street or something, like 700 something. Reds was on one side, he was the other, and they looked at the moon. They took the angular size of the moon, and they did a triangle. Yes, you heard me, with a flat baseline, and
I remember that.
triangulated with parallax based on the angular size of the moon of how far and how fast other ISS moves across it. Therefore, their calculation says the ISS is where they claim it to be, but it's a globe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a weather balloon either.
Yeah. It's quite says it. Well, the poll has changed to 81 votes. Are you enjoying the debate series? Yes, 74%, and no, 26%. Ooh. So it's still yes.
Okay, and so you're saying it's impossible for the ISS to move over a plane.
What does that have to do with me measuring the distance? You can assume it's a plane. You can assume it's a globe.
Well, earlier you said trilateration was impossible.
Trilateration is about you finding your location. I'm
Right.
talking about measuring.
And triangulation is also about you finding your location.
Right.
It works both ways, dude.
Yeah.
It really does.
Trilateration is just a whole bunch of centric circles laid onto each other to give a center, where triangulation is you triangulating to a point.
the
Don't
altitude.
And
say
by the
that.
way, he's been explained this many times. I've personally explained it to him many times. Thanks, Roger, for coming, man. Appreciate it. Enjoy
Are you
No
off?
problem, man.
Bless
Yeah,
you,
I'm
man.
gonna get ready to take off. Yeah. I'll see you
Sorry,
guys
I've
later.
been a bit quiet there. I was sorting out my stream for tomorrow.
Shot.
And
It's done.
hopefully I'll get on Rumble tonight. I hope that works out.
I'm sure it will, dude. Sure it will, as long as you connect it. But mind you, you're on Restream as well. You might have a problem. If you do it from your StreamYard, you will do it.
Yeah, I could go over there and open that up if I have to.
Mm.
Yeah. Can I say hi to Neil right quick? Hey, Neil. He's over in your backup
I'm
channel.
glad
right?
Neil's okay. Yeah, he's in
Oh,
my
yeah, Neil, is Neil
backup channel.
Constantino around?
Yeah.
Oh, nice,
Glad he's
Neil.
okay.
Good to see you, man. Good to see you. Hope you're feeling all right, bro. Hope you're feeling all right. Why didn't you come over to the main channel? Then you'll be able
Yeah,
to
you
see
get
all
it
the
in the
chat, bro.
Yeah.
This is the backup channel you're at.
Yeah.
Hey, can I add one thing
You
before I
need your-
take off? That James Ross Clark actually did a radius circumference further than it should be. So there's a lot more land that would throw everything off, or a lot more circumference to the Earth.
Yep.
It'll make everything a lot difficult. Yeah. All right, guys. I'll see you later.
Later, bro. Take care.
Carry out.
What?
Your location. So that you need your location.
I just know the baseline.
Right. Okay. So you need your location. That's the prerequisite. So the point I was making is I don't believe when he claims something's 22,000 miles away. I don't believe that. But he can. I don't.
The moon
right?
is to 240,000 miles away.
Yeah, see, I definitely don't believe that. And but this is the thing. The way that they get the distances, they actually use, of course, the equation for speed, and they assume the medium, the propagation rate of light, and they get how long it takes, the duration of signal to get there, right? And then they plug it into the assumption of the speed of light relative to the vacuum, and then they're going to supposedly get their distance. I disavow those assumptions. I don't think that's true.
Well,
Yeah. Well, I do have to actually agree with Whitsit there.
Yeah.
If you do assume it's a vacuum and then make that calculation based on the speed of light and stuff, they can make the assumption. But what if it isn't a vacuum? What then? Then it wouldn't give the same speed. Just like he says, because he believes it's the ether. that would change the speed? What if it's like, I believe, water? It would change the speed. So it's closer than it is, but because light travels slower in the water, it would give those distances. But that's, again, just comes up to a person's belief, because that's something we are not able to validate.
You guys are all wrong. The Earth is clearly hollow and flat. It's a donut.
Well, Vice is stupid. You know that.
We're in a donut magnetic field. I want to answer the firmament thing, though. The idea of putting them inside the firmament. All the early church fathers, even, but like many people throughout all of like biblical history, they said that there were layers to a container. A physical container had layers, and the sun, moon, and stars are inside those layers of the firmament. And in fact, that they're specific to layers, meaning like the sun and moon and the stars are in a separate layer. So that would be how that's explained.
It's not explaining it.
Why not?
Because the Hebrew word is beirakia, which does not mean in or inside, like you're trying to say. You're trying to say that somehow you have the dome, and then there's the inside underneath the dome.
There are layers inside of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's
Multiple
what you're
domes.
trying to say. But that's not what the Hebrew says. The Hebrew says it's in the firmament.
Yes, in.
Okay. So if the definition of firmament is solid, how are the celestial bodies going to be in the firmament, not underneath?
Simple, like I explained it. So this cup, my hand is in the cup. Cup, hand is in the cup.
Are you sure?
Oh man. Yeah, sorry, but that's a bit pathetic of an argument, Sir Jonas. Sorry.
Just.
Underneath, because there's a lot of ways in Hebrew to say underneath the firmament.
Well, they're within the solid firmament.
And
I think
wait a second. And there's a lot of ways to say that the celestial bodies are over the firmament.
Well, they're not above or
In
below
Hebrew.
because there's layers. They're within it.
Yeah, they're not above or below because
No,
it's in
in
it.
it.
Like I just told
Definitely.
you again,
In it.
my hand is in the cup.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
In the cup.
Same thing. It's not hard to believe. It's not hard to understand.
Mm-hmm.
The easiest way to
Yeah,
understand
but you can't have that if the firmament's solid. That's what I'm trying to say.
But ice and water can go from solid, so maybe it could change.
No,
Well,
there's
solid is a
layers
solid.
to
It's
it.
not water.
I think the easiest way to understand the firmament is for anybody who's ever played World of Warcraft, and you try and go too far south, and your character just keeps walking into what's an
There you
invisible
go.
wall.
The best argument is that the physical antecedent for gas pressure is a container, right? Because the gas pressure would fill the available space. Second law of thermodynamics, entropy increases. So if we actually had an atmosphere next to vacuum, it would fill the available space. So where people just blindly throw out the word gravity, even though
So-
they don't even have a theory that works, and it wouldn't explain it anyway.
But if gravity worked, you would have to admit that an atmosphere would be possible, right?
No, not next to a vacuum. It violates the second law of thermodynamics.
No, it
So-
doesn't. It doesn't.
Because how do we have a
No,
pressurized
Because
system?
You're right. Because they don't the Tor measurement of vacuum in space, they don't know whether it's 10 to the minus 6 or 10 to the minus 17.
That's false. They actually have a scale for this. They call it an ultra high vacuum, 10 to the minus 17. By the moon, it's 10 to the 11. So they do know, based on their model, what the vacuums are. So that's a lie.
They have no way to measure it. So if it's 10 to the minus 6, we're safe. The atmosphere is not going to be sucked out. If it was 10 to the minus 17th, yeah, the atmosphere would be sucked out, but that means both your theory and my theory would be wrong.
Well, there's
Wait,
something,
hold on,
I
hold
think
on.
there's something containing.
Why can't they measure it? Couldn't you?
they can't get an exact figure.
Yeah, barometers can't work. Okay.
You know, it's between,
If we had
10 to the minus 6.
consistent access to Mars, could you?
if we what?
Had consistent access to Mars.
Mars, I don't think would have anything to do with it. in
Well,
my
you're
opinion.
two different gravitational bodies giving
Yeah,
us
but
a
you're
reference.
talking about outer space.
Right, and
What's
so
the vacuum in outer space?
So if Mars can't maintain an atmosphere the size of Earth,
Yes, he's saying if you were able to like kind of sit on Mars and make more like calibrated measurements.
what's the rate at which the atmosphere dissipates for Mars if it can't maintain, or the Moon or something?
Well, it's a lot more because it has less gravity.
Right. So then you could measure the baseline by which what is the amount of mass required to sustain an atmosphere. You could then determine if it's not going to hold it because the vacuum is pulling on it.
You could, maybe, but I'm just telling you what the books say.
And the gas pressure need the way that we actually even do the equation for gas pressure is a physical barrier, because pressure is the energy or force exerted on the walls of a container. So you need to even have pressure, to even invoke pressure, it presses on the walls of a container.
So, real quick, sorry.
I can see he's getting irritated there because he's just trying to give a statement and they want to stop him every time.
Babe, I will when I've got time. I'll have a look. Is it short?
The presumption of why the Earth has an atmosphere is because the gravity is holding this matter to the Earth.
Yes.
And for Mars, there is not enough. The gravity is weaker, so the atmosphere is much thinner because it can't hold as much.
And that's why Saturn and
gravity's
Jupiter have a much thicker atmosphere because more gravity.
But gas disperses in all directions on the surface where gravity would be the strongest, right? Like gas goes in all directions. You can't just have a vacuum next to a gas pressure on the surface. Gravity's the strongest here. So
Yeah, with all demonstration, you're not able to have gas pressure without containment. There's not one demonstration that shows this. What we usually get from the anti-flat Earth side is, oh, look at the sky. We got pressure gradients. Yeah, but that is a byproduct of having pressure first. So we have, what comes first is containment, then comes the gas pressure, then comes the gas pressure gradient. You can't hop straight to gas pressure gradient and ignore that you have pressure and ignore that you have containment for that pressure. And gravity is not a force, so it's not able to interact to hold gas down. Gas is what we call, it has perfect elastic collisions. It only changes direction with a collision.
Yeah.
So gas also has known not to ever stop moving. The only way you can stop it is either going through a phase change, therefore it's not being a gas anymore, or you have to get at 0 Kelvin, which is impossible. There is no place in nature that gets to 0 Kelvin. Heck, not even scientists that can get to 0 Kelvin. It's impossible. Just like you can't get a perfect vacuum. You can't get a perfect 0 degree Kelvin temperature scale.
Let's just say, Vicky, yeah, watch that. Yeah, it's good. I know Pete and Baz, but the thing is, I can't play it on YouTube. Play it live on YouTube because they'll be copyrighted. But Pete and Baz are ace, man. Love them. Two old guys that rap. Do you know that?
That's what
Pete and Baz are ace, man. Pete and Baz are ace.
So that's the modern model just isn't true. It defies physics. And I'm waiting for an answer to that. If gravity is the strongest at the surface,
the atmosphere is a gradient, and I've got a simulation that I
told you. What are they up to? The atmosphere is a gradient.
No doubt.
I just told you what they usually do. Oh.
I programmed myself that's on my channel that shows a simulated planet with gravity holding onto an atmosphere. And yeah, it's a gradient. As you go further out, it goes closer.
Yeah, air gets thinner.
Simulation.
Air gets thinner the higher you go, so people die on Mount Everest.
Yeah, there's definitely a gradient.
Hydrogen that escapes out into outer space because it's just too light for the gravity to
so gravity picks and chooses between some
No,
of the
it's
gas.
because the hydrogen is lighter than helium.
What is why?
Dude, that's why you've got Dalton's law, because it's a conglomerate of all gases. Okay? Where I'm sitting now at sea level, okay, it's 14.7 psi. If I have to have the barometer on my phone and lift it up, it changes all that ever so lightly, like McToon showed, okay? Not realizing that gas is moving around in all directions constantly. It's not hard to understand. Gas never stops moving. Now, when they want to come and say, yeah, but look, gravity does pull gas down like SF6, sulfur hexafluoride. No.
Just takes longer to dissipate.
It's denser, so it has what we call the arrow of time. It takes longer to dissipate. Yeah. That's why when they put a fish tank and they put sulfur hexafluoride in a fish tank, they put a covering over it.
Yeah.
Because if they didn't, it will eventually dissipate.
Of course.
You can't go and buy propane in a bucket. You can't go buy sulfur hexafluoride in a bucket because gravity won't hold it there indefinitely, because gravity is not a force. It doesn't exist.
No. It is funny, babe. It is. Hey, Reg.
All the hydrogen.
Because we have enough gravity that it has to seep out slowly.
That's the pick and choose. And in the
No, it's not picking and choosing. That's the physics of
my
it.
question really is: we all agree gas disperses in all directions,
Yes.
right?
So
Like,
what?
okay, so gravity's not actually pulling the air down as you're claiming to where it keeps it next to a vacuum. It disperses in all directions where gravity is the strongest.
Well, what is your explanation for gravity?
Well, I mean, I would say that everything for density and buoyancy is a major part of it because it's all just pressure mediating relative to its medium, right? So ping pong, golf ball. But I would say, and this is what I say, I don't speak for anyone else, that everything's electric. And so everything that exists is electrostatic. Literally everything that exists. There's not one exception. Everything's electric. And that's 10 to the 36 power stronger than gravity's even claimed to be on the smallest scale.
How does this explain a balloon full of helium rising in the air?
Well, that's probably more merely buoyancy.
But buoyancy
No.
I think this is where it's going to tell them about Archimedes' principle.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we have to point out, Archimedes' principle came about 1,900 years before gravity was even postulated as a force, okay? Notice that was even 110 years ago, which was superseded. It was superseded 110 years ago, which states gravity is not a force. So they have to get with the times. But they don't seem to understand that when something supersedes it, it means it's not that anymore.
Not that anymore, of course.
So if you saw it as a force and it was shown wrong, not as a force, that means it is not a force. General relativity, I don't agree with, but it does fall more under the lines of real-world application of relative density disequilibrium. Just like general relativity in a mathematical sense explains things moving in a general direction based on the warping of space and time around it, relative density disequilibrium explains the same thing. It's the medium that is either able to support it or not support it, which gives it movement. Simple as that.
For instance, when you look at these videos of outer space, they put a balloon, they cover it with water. The water it sits around it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no movement in either direction.
Well,
buoyancy requires gravity.
in quote unquote space. Now,
Very good.
That's the claim, but I'm trying to explain really.
If buoyancy requires gravity, then why did Archimedes' principle work without the equation of you needing gravity into it for 1,900 years? Tell me that. How did they build ships and boats and things with Archimedes' principle without gravity?
That's right.
I know why. Because it's simply just a displacement. It's the understanding that you cannot have an object taking the same place up as the medium around it. Even when gravity, they try and demonstrate gravity in a vacuum, the independent variable that they manipulate is the medium. It's always the object to medium ratio that there's never any form of demonstrating the manipulation of gravity, because gravity is not a thing. It's a belief. Because when it comes to things, how can I put this? Okay, I got my water here. If I had to put an object in here and it floats, okay, it's displacing. That's why it's able to float. It's just displacing. If it isn't able to displace it, it will just fall down and sink. There is an unbalanced force to that. The amount of impulse is different between the object and the medium. So therefore, it can either sink or float. Oh, man. Just got a bug in my water. And it's floating. You can't see it. There we go. There you can see it's floating. That's because of buoyancy. Without gravity, guys.
Tell him to bugger off.
But you see, that's the difference where me and Whitsitt come in. Whitsitt tries to argue in his incoherent direct dielectric acceleration thing.
Yeah.
Where I just simply take it to the physics ball bones and say, you don't need that. The direction is simply based on natural law based on direction. So things won't be able to go up because it takes energy to take it up. Why would you expect it to fall up if it requires energy to go up?
So it requires a little g, which is downward acceleration. That's just the effect. We measure how fast things fall. Big G, or the cause of that, is a totally separate thing. I don't deny little g, and I would actually say I know a better cause for it. There's a downward electric current on the Earth. It's based on the electric field has equipotential increase. So every meter you go up, the electric field on Earth increases 100 volts in potential, and that creates a downward electric current. You can actually read Feynman lectures. I think it's 9.1. He explains this. There's horizontal equipotential lines, and it creates a downward current. It's very weak, but it's very.
But is that implying that gravity gets weaker at a distance?
And by the way, that current is measured stronger than the weak force of gravity. Just to let you guys know.
Wow.
Well, that's what your model would claim as well. Now, I would actually have to get. Yeah, of course. The further away you get from the center of mass, but like it would be negligible, and I would actually have to know what the electric field is doing over 50 miles. Like the most I can independently verify is 35 miles. The mainstream model claims that like around 50, 60 kilometers, the electric field changes. Well, that's convenient, right? Because that's where we can no longer.
Yeah, but your electric field is starting out there in space, and it's coming.
No, it doesn't start out there in space. What's he talking about? Space doesn't exist. Why are you talking about starts out in space?
Down, correct?
Well, I do believe I believe that that's a major variable is that there's tons of electromagnetic radiation coming from the sky, basically coming down to the Earth.
Yeah,
Even
but
Tesla said this.
that implies to me that it's stronger up there than it is down here.
Well, everything goes to seek equilibrium, right? And that's why there's a downward current. You can actually run a generator off
but
of the air.
I think we've shown, help me, that gravity gets weaker the higher you go.
Well, and if it's just electrics, then why do neutrons not float?
Okay, you're saying neutrons don't have any electric properties?
Correct. They're neutral.
They have a net neutral charge. So they're actually, in your paradigm, I don't even believe in this, but they're comprised of quarks. Well, I don't believe in subatomic pseudoscientific particles. It doesn't matter. You're laughing, but I'm about to show you that you don't understand.
Yeah, remember, the atomic model was never proven. It's just taken as face value. You can use it to explain things just like you use gravity to explain things.
Yeah.
You can use it to explain like gravity explains a pencil falling to the ground. Great. But does that mean gravity is real? No. Just like the atomic model can explain things, doesn't make the atomic model real. It's just an explanation. It's a description given for something. Nobody has to actually believe in the atomic model because it hasn't been shown through any validation to be real. But yeah, I don't agree with Whitsitt though when it comes to the electromagnetic pull for a downward bias, because I don't see any downward bias.
No, things go up.
It's just the ordering of things, because you require more energy to pick something up than to. Let's say this cup's on my hand, okay? Everybody knows I need to use energy to pick it up. Okay? I've picked it up. I've used energy. Now, why would you expect if I let it go because the air is less dense up to carry on going up? It will require more energy. So where does it have to go? It will actually use that energy that I picked up, the potential energy I put into the system, to kinetic energy to get back down, because the air cannot support it. It's seeking relative equilibrium. There's no need for this electromagnetic jargon that he's talking about. The only reason you have up and down is based on its relative equilibrium point. Which is the direction based on use of energy. That's it. Simple as that. It's an unbalanced force, guys.
That obviously it's made of quarks, and they're made of elementary charges or fractional elementary charges, so they are fundamentally electric.
Neutrons are electrically neutral, though, so why do they not float?
Are they inherently electric?
They are electrically neutral.
Which is inherently electric, dude.
Yeah.
Neutral just meaning they are not more positive or more negative. They are in between. So they are inherently electrical. What the?
See, I just now directly rebutted this. That's the net charge, but they are inherently electric.
If they're net charge neutral, then why would they not float in your model? If electrostatics is just, if that's the explanation for gravity, why are neutrons affected by gravity?
They aren't.
Okay, because this is your model of neutrons and that they're material. All material is electrostatic, and you tried to bring up neutrons, and that's what anyone can ever bring up because they think it has no charge. You're wrong. It actually does have charge. Everything does. Everything's electric. That's the true unified theory. They can't invoke this though because it's going to start to have ether and geocentrism pop back in. But the point is, all molecular and intermolecular attractive forces are electrostatic in nature. What that means is all molecules in the world that are held together, any piece of matter, you name it, rubber, sand, glass, wood, name anything in the world, it's held together by electrostatics.
Yeah, but how does that prove gravity, though?
Well, see, I don't
Prove gravity. He's not trying to prove gravity. He's telling you gravity doesn't exist.
I know. Where's he coming in with up to the situation, that position? It's a bit weird.
So yeah.
I don't have to prove a replacement for gravity. I'm stating a fact, which is
Yeah, well, we agree with that. It's all electrostatic.
and think about this.
I have
well,
no problem with it.
what is weight?
Yes, Joyce, I have, and I think it's really worthwhile with it. Walter Lewin does an awesome job talking about the incoherent electrostatics acceleration. I think Witzer just takes it too seriously and accepts it too much because I find it a bit hypocritical actually of him. If he doesn't accept the atomic model, but yet he wants to accept the incoherent electrostatic acceleration, it relies on one another. So I find that a bit of hypocritical. But that's why I say you don't need the electromagnetics, incoherent electrostatics to explain this. I'm not saying don't do it. It's all his belief he can do it. I'm not saying that we can't measure it. We do measure an electric charge. This is shown. But I don't think it's the reason why things fall. The only reason things fall is because it has an unbalanced force, because things require energy to move. So as soon as you pick it up, you moved it out of its relative equilibrium. It can't displace the air around anymore. So what happens? It had now puts energy into the system, which would be potential, and then it has to accelerate and use kinetic energy up to get to its relative position because it is an unbalanced force.
It's weight equals mg, because you're actually asking me to explain what causes weight. When you ask me about gravity, you have a different idea that everyone's antipodal and omnidirectional, and there needs to be a force pulling me on a sphere that's flying around the sun. I don't believe in that. I'm just going to state the facts that there's weight, and what is it? It's mass times quote unquote gravity, right? Little g. That's how fast things fall. So what is mass? It's volume times density. That's what it is. So then what is density? Density is the compactness of matter. Right? So what's the cause of density? Whatever's holding the matter together with a certain compactness, we know that is electrostatics. The actual primary cause of density.
How does that prove gravity, though?
No, it's explaining what weight is. That's all you're asking when you ask.
Why
what
does
is
he keep on asking how does that prove gravity? He's not for gravity. What's up, Brian?
Yeah, right. How you doing, bro?
Hello, all.
Good to see you, sir.
Yeah.
See you. Sorry, I'm late. I caught up. I had to take a shower, so got cleaned up. Now I'm ready.
It's good.
Gravity. We were talking about weight. Because now I would actually say,
you got two balls, A and B. Okay. Both are held together electrostatically. We agree with that.
Yeah.
But why is A attracting B, and why is B attracting A?
Oh, well, that's a claim, and you would maybe have to invoke Cavendish. Cavendish is the only thing even claimed to supposedly show that.
Well, it hasn't been disproven.
Well,
It hasn't been proven.
Yeah, if it hasn't been proven, it can't be unproven.
Yeah, it's not that it hasn't been disproven. It hasn't been proven. There's a difference between proving something and just. It's like saying, please go out and prove to me a double negative. You can't go and prove a double negative.
No.
I can't go and prove to you that there are no such things as flying pixie dolls in the fourth dimension. Okay? I can't prove to you it doesn't exist if you haven't proven it exists. Show it exists, and then we can go and try and disprove it. There's a difference. I know Cavendish, again, going to state this again. It has no scientific hypothesis and experiment to make it science. Been explaining this a bit, because at the end of the day, all Cavendish is trying to do is evoke gravity causes gravity.
Yeah.
And all it does is actually just show simple physics, which is torque vectoring based on torsion twist. Nothing more than that.
So
That's why we do it.
So Cavendish is, you can't actually eliminate the variable of electrostatics in that test.
I'm not. I'm just saying the balls attracting each other.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because of electric variables. So, and this is even well known in
Well,
mainstream.
you have to prove that.
No, I'm going to explain it. In mainstream, it's actually known. Even when you put Faraday material.
You've taken the burden and laid it onto you, Britsit. So there I don't agree with you. Because now you've placed the burden onto you to try and prove that it's electrostatic now, not gravity. So you're stuck in the same boat as them. Why don't you just show demonstrations where it shows the ball going opposite? Where it doesn't show what it's supposed to do. Roger Little, thank you for your $2 super chat. He says, a local sun seems more provable, 100%. I agree. Thank you very much. You are awesome. You rock, man. Appreciate the super chat.
In between the balls in a Faraday cage and ground the entire system, it still actually has electromagnetic.
Yes. This is also something we have to point out. A Faraday cage doesn't take 100% of the charge away. It only deflects some charge. Okay? It doesn't actually take the charge away. So when they say it's they put a Faraday cage there and now it's taking away the electric potential, that is false, because it will always have electric potential no matter what they do. Also, the thing is, if they don't do it in a vacuum, Bernoulli's principle comes into play, and a low pressure system comes. It would be the same as, I don't know if you guys have ever stood next to a road and a large truck or a bus drives past and it feels like you're getting sucked towards it. Because
Absolutely.
That's Bernoulli's principle. So
same as when you're on if you try to climb in the side of a boat, your legs get sucked under with the shape of the boat. I mean, I know it's different, but it's just something I remember when you said that. But yeah, I get it.
Same. So
I know someone that lost a leg. I was in hospital in 2011 when I messed my feet up when I fell out of that building and smashed, had a compound fracture on both heels, and I had to put them TSF frames on. Well, I met a guy he was big as well, probably about 18 stone or something. And he was standing at his car had broke down somehow, in it was one of that shopping, like a supermarket kind of lorry, a big lorry went past him, and it sucked him under and run over his leg. I had to get his leg amputated, nearly both legs amputated, but they saved one, the other one had to be amputated. And they had to, it was hardly anybody there. It took ages for the police there. When the police got there, they seen that he was bleeding out. They actually said, just leave him, he's got to die. Because somebody was trying to tourniquet him off. But he didn't, he lived. And the police would have let him die. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But that's the problem. That's a saying. That's why when you see where they put those two masses there, and it's not in a vacuum, the air is rushing through there constantly. It's creating a low pressure system.
Absolutely.
And that attracts it, because what happens? High to low, always. So the air around it is pushing it in there, because that air around it is rushing and causing a vacuum. There's so many things that can show Cavendish just being a total farce, but people just accept it. That's why I love asking them, okay, give me the scientific hypothesis for Cavendish. And they can never give a single independent variable. It's always mass, or it's distance, or it's both, or it's, you know what I mean? They can never make up their mind. Thank you, Theo, for your $2 who says, should have focused on gravity, is irrelevant to shape. I agree, Theo, because he's reversed the burden onto him now. And I think this is their plan. They wanted him to start talking about the ether so that he can try and provide evidence for it. They wanted him to talk about electrostatics, because he was keeping them on the go about gravity. So it was their burden. But they've managed to make it now his burden.
Depends on heartbeats.
Exactly.
Rate of heartbeats.
Thank you very much for the super chat, Theo. You rock.
And the larger
variables that are affecting the balls. This is well known. And then Cavendish actually right? Didn't even account for electrostatics at all. Supposedly ran across his yard with a telescope and saw it kind of jiggle a little bit, and then knew the density and weight of Earth by assuming and reifying the sphere. All this comes to is people wanted the Earth to be a sphere. They presupposed it. They built a model around it based on what they saw. Then they wanted the Earth to be a sphere that's moving around the sun, and they built a model around it.
If it's true that the satellite can be at a 22,000 miles, I know you don't believe that, but could it take a picture of the Earth and show that it was
absolutely?
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. But
okay, the 500-mile satellites that most of them are about 500 miles above the Earth. They're going around the Earth at a pretty rapid clip,
yeah,
and they're taking pictures of the Earth. Now, what I've heard the flat earthers say is that, first of all, there's no satellites, so there's no pictures taken. And then when NASA comes back with the pictures are a little distorted because the satellite, being only 500 miles up, can't take a picture of the whole Earth, obviously. It can only take a picture of a small section, and then it moves on, and it takes a picture of another section, and it moves on, takes a picture of another section, okay?
Why don't you reverse that and say, well, why can't we take a nice telescope and take a picture of that satellite? If it's only 500 miles, a nice large telescope should be able to see that satellite, correct?
Yep, of course. Why not?
Weird. We don't see that. We don't see pictures of these satellites you claim, but we do see pictures and videos of satelloons transiting in front of the moon or the sun.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Like I say, I think,
and then it brings all these sections.
Satelloons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, that's the internet that Vlad works off, and yeah, there's problems with it, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, look at Starlink. I mean, Vlad uses Starlink. Shout out to Vlad, Ironworks. He's got Starlink, and what an issue every time he streams.
Really?
It's crazy.
Bad, isn't it? It's really bad.
Yeah. Hey, Ridge, what's up, man?
Hey, good to see you, bro. Good to see you, man.
Might take time for his
Sometimes. Yeah, sometimes that happens.
Okay.
Back, and you have to put them all together. And that's hard to do. Why? Because you're making pictures of a circle. And if you have circles that you're taking pictures of, you're not going to have square pictures. You're going to have peels, like an orange peel. And then you got to put all these peels together. And when you do, the flat earthers say, oh, well, you're manipulating the pictures because...
Well, you are manipulating.
And they admit that's what they did. With
they do admit
you have to do that because you're dealing with a circle.
Okay, well, it's not proof of anything, right? Like, let's just make sure the audience knows this. The first wallpaper on the first generation of iPhone was the blue marble.
It was.
Right?
I had
Do you
it.
remember the first? It was just blue.
yeah.
So everyone saw this picture, right? And I would just assume that's a picture of the Earth from space. It was not, though. It was literally fake. And Robert Simmons, who worked for NASA, who actually did it.
You can pull this up.
You can pull it up. He'll straight up tell you, Robert Simmons, Blue Marble, NASA.gov. And he says, what we did was we take pictures, flat map pictures. We take a bunch of pictures. We put it in a flat map. We compile it. Then we have to transform that. We actually have to turn that into a sphere. We wrap that around a sphere. Then we have to bring in cloud layers and an artist. And my job was to actually touch it up to make it look like what the observer would expect it to look like by painting it. By literally painting it.
Yeah, it's Photoshop, but it has to be.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It Photoshop, but it has to be.
But I mean,
hey everybody.
How's it
Good
going,
to see you,
Rich?
Reg. Good to see
Hey, how
you,
you
bro.
doing, Flats? Hey, PJ. Yeah, I like how they reversed the burden of proof on Witsit, but
Yeah, always.
yeah.
Bad,
Yeah,
innit?
that's what I was saying. Witsit got a bit caught out there because he's now reversed it onto himself, actually. They didn't even have to do it for him.
Yeah, and I just like, I would like to say, I like how you explained relevant density or secret equilibrium, basically how energy have to support it for things to go up. You will need energy to do that. I mean, I think that's a much simpler way to explain it. It's easy for anybody to pick up. Of course, it's common sense that okay, you're going to need energy in order for things to go up. If that medium don't support it, things will fall down. That would explain anything as far as direction. You don't even need electrostatics and gravity. I don't know why Witsit just didn't stick with that, because he used to say that. Like,
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Anything in reality to go up requires energy. A tree growing, for instance, requires energy. Me throwing a ball requires energy.
Yeah.
It uses up energy to go up. So why would anybody expect something to carry on going up if it's not using energy? So that's why it doesn't fall up; it falls down because it's using that energy. That's as simple as that. You don't need to worry about electrostatics and gravity and all this nonsense.
yeah,
It's just
yeah, because it put the burden on you to prove that.
Mhm.
And you see how they just did it. First Witsit had them, had to pretty much prove their claim of gravity. Like, okay, can you explain how gravity exists, or can you show us gravity? Do you have any scientific research about gravity, which will require a hypothesis? But Whitson went on carrying on, talking about, well, actually, I can explain gravity with electrostatics. Okay, now you've been put the burden upon you, and now they don't have to explain about gravity because now everybody sitting at the table already assumed that gravity works and it exists and it's a real thing. But you got a better system to basically show how something else is taking place of gravity.
Mhm.
So,
Yep.
you know, if that's not, I don't know if he was trying to do that, but that's the impression that they flipped on him.
Exactly.
Mm.
Yeah. He
Yeah.
flipped it on himself actually, because he bought that and he pushed it into himself. If I was there instead of what's it, I would have rather kept them on saying, okay, you want to let's talk about the scientific hypothesis. Let's go through it. Is it really a viable scientific hypothesis? And then we talk about the experiment. And I would have kept them on that. And I guarantee you, it would end up being okay. So you guys think gravity creates gravity?
Right, because gravity is pretty much the way they explain it in their paradigm now is it's supposed to be a pseudo force, and it determines the direction of things going down as a downward bias. So the downward bias is because of this pseudo force that is called gravity. So that would be a cause of a natural effect, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
they would need science in order to validate that. So you could just hold them to their science that they said they found some pseudo force because it's no longer a force. So they shouldn't even be talking about a mass attracting mass or energy coming. They shouldn't be talking about that. It's a pseudo
because
force now.
because I'm actually working on my own experiment. I call it Cavendish 2.0, where I think it's the way they should have done it to prove once and for all if it does really have a force. And I think it's going to be very interesting. I'm trying to get it written up, and then I'll probably have to, at a stage, do a GoFundMe so I can do it because it has to be done in a vacuum. But it's going to literally take that torsion twist out of the equation. So it's quite a cool idea. I don't know why Cavendish hasn't thought of this before, or anybody trying to do the Cavendish, but it takes the whole how can I put it, variable of anything really away, and if it really does have a force, it will have to move
Yeah.
perpendicular. But it's very interesting. So I am trying to work on that. I want to, before I actually do it, try and get it patented because I do know someone's going to try and steal the thunder. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So we're getting there. We'll get there. Probably, hopefully next year I can do that.
So the picture that everyone assumed was a real picture of Earth from space, all over the default wallpaper, is admittedly not real at all. It
No,
starts
that's
at
not
the-
what they're saying.
That's just a guy who made a Photoshop art for iPhone.
Yeah.
No,
you
no, for
can't-
NASA.
That's for NASA. That's
Pictures
the
don't
official
come in
picture.
curves, they come flat when you take a picture. So you have all these flat
Really?
pictures, and now you have to assimilate them all to make the true picture. And you're going to have to add stuff, take stuff away because they're all.
No.
Yeah.
Rob,
used the
keep
camera
up, Rob.
That's false. When you take a picture with a camera,
Yeah.
it puts all those layers already flat together. You don't
Yeah.
need to go and take other pictures to lay them to make it look 3D, dude.
Yeah, that's it. That's all. It's a composite. They're made
Yeah, Rob don't know what he's talking about here.
Not so.
That's a bit wrong. But you see, he's thinking like what they do with the different light spectrums, like they do it at the different frequencies, and then they have to Photoshop it to color it and give it the depth. This is what they do in astronomy, guys. They take different frequency photographs, okay, and they take the ones and zeros datas and they layer them onto each other to make like the pillars of heaven photo or whatever.
And Andres Lacoste, we don't talk Spanish in here. If you can write in English, that'd be better.
He is actually Spanish though.
Yeah, I
he's a
know,
cool
but I mean,
guy.
nobody understands it here.
It's easier to take it, copy it, and stick it in to translate.
Yeah, but I can't copy it from there.
But he's a cool dude. Andres is a very cool dude.
Copy
Theo
it.
Megawary, thank you for your $5 super chat. He says, Witsit showing he took constructive criticism from recent session on FED. I agree. And
Yeah, I was there
24/7
that day.
And implemented to his approach and marked improvement. I agree with that. Witsit is definitely he's upped his game. He's doing much better. I think it's just those fine-tuning things that he could change. But he was actually a bit cornered, yeah. So,
Yeah, they kind of ain't let him talk whenever he held their feet to the fire. So they allow him to talk now because this is what they want him to talk about. They want him to talk about ether and electromagnet. You know, they want him to talk about electrostatic and stuff like that. So
yeah,
that's why you see the guy laughing and everything because this is what they wanted Witsit to talk about.
But that is everybody has their own weak points, and unfortunately, with Witsit, his weak point is he wants to always try and prove the ether or prove electrostatic dielectric acceleration. You understand? So
Yeah.
they know this, so they're going to hold the cookie to him and hope he takes the bite. You understand?
Can I just? I've translated that big text that was in there that Andres put in. The one that starts at las ondas acoustas. It means acoustic waves also affect the Cavendish experiment since they generate dynamic disturbances.
Yes, that's true because there is oscillations. There's a frequency playing there. That's what I said. There's many variables they are not able to account for. So it actually makes it an invalid experiment because you have to be able to control all the variables, and because they can't control those variables, it invalidates it.
Aye.
Simple. But yeah, Andres, thank you. You rock, man.
Right now, if you do that, I'll just keep translating. That's all right. I didn't realize that you must have taken Spanish, so I could do that. I could translate for him.
They're all you have to end up with.
Is it too much to ask for though? A picture of the Earth that's not edited, that's
Which is available every day.
Satellites. How are we going to convince you?
No, I
that we
believe
took
there's satellites. I didn't say there's not satellites. I'm just saying the pictures that they give.
Do you
us,
believe there's a satellite out there at 22,200?
I don't. I mean, I don't know. How far, I don't know.
Do
if
you
it's
or
that
not?
far. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm trying to push it back onto Alex, but I like Alex with this because Alex just plain out says, "Yeah, I don't know." He knows where his limits are. You know what I mean?
Nobody
So he's
really
not gonna
knows. So
reverse
that was
it
an honest
himself.
answer, at least.
Exactly.
So you don't basically.
I mean, and why? And if it was, why can't we just make a video of it? It's 2024.
We do. It's on TV every night. It's called a weather satellite.
22,000 miles away. Wow.
What a freaking.
So what? He think the weather satellite is not it's not Photoshop at all? He think those is real pictures, the little cartoons he see on the Weather Channel?
I guess he thinks that there's a satellite following all the satellites so they can get a good picture of it, right?
Wow.
Some people really just are thick-headed, bro. They just no
Rob
matter
don't
how
know what
much
he
they hang on
talking
that
about.
bread, they don't feel a bit of it.
Theo Megaway, $2 says Joe interrupting a super chat readout. Party foul. Thank you very much. You rock, man. Really appreciate it. Joe say sorry.
Sorry.
Right.
There we go.
Andres also said acoustic waves also affect the Cavendish experiment because they generate mechanical disturbances in the air.
Yeah, that's what you said. Yeah.
Yeah.
a video. Like, we don't have actual video. Like, if you could have shut this down, you went to the moon supposedly, just put a freaking camera on the moon, even without sending people.
That's a different topic.
No,
We're
either
not
way,
talking about going to the moon. We're
satellites,
talking
whatever.
I think the
Make a
issue is
video.
they're so concerned with sending $250 billion to Ukraine, no one's going to put any money into moon travel. But Elon Musk is working on it, so.
I mean,
says we're going to
Discover
Mars.
takes
Well,
pictures
first it
of
was
the
that
Earth
we're
every
going
day.
to the moon. Now we've skipped it over. They said they're going to go back to the moon for the last 20 years.
For Artemis.
Someone
And
actually.
Artemis is again postponed, guys.
Well, it would be.
Again.
Would be. Again, yeah. It's,
How many times do you have to postpone something?
Well, look, they haven't been back to the moon since what, 72, and they keep wanting to go back, but they can't because
Back.
they lost the data, and it's hard to get it back.
It owes me like $25K because they didn't go by 2025. They were so confident. This happens regularly, then everyone forgets. It gets lost. It gets memory hold.
Who owes you that money?
I'm gonna give him a break. He came and asked me that he like kind of groveled a bit. I'm like, you're a good brother. It's all good. So.
Well, because they want to build a space station on the moon so that they can deposit materials, create rockets, and then use the moon as a launching point for Mars.
Yeah, if you've ever watched, has you guys watched that movie Ad Astra before?
Yes, I've seen it. With Brad Pitt.
With Brad Pitt, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it.
That's exactly that idea where they want to build a base on the moon,
Right.
and then they use that as a port to be able to get them to Mars.
Right.
But yeah, I don't think that will happen, guys. I mean, if they can't even get someone past low Earth orbit today in 2024, how do you think they're going to get to build something on the moon? They haven't been. I mean, think about it. By the time we did, they will still be saying, "Oh, we're going to the moon."
I mean, in order for them to build something on the moon, they're going to need laborers, engineers, workers. Like,
There's just so much wrong with this. It's like they're waiting for every generation just to die and then say, no, they did go to the moon.
Yeah.
Then there's no one to say, yeah, we never went, because no one was alive to say if you went or not.
I don't know if Elon's actually planning on doing that, but he's saying.
Well, he
he's gonna go to
tweeted something how they even need a rocket that can refill in its path to the moon.
I mean, that's the mode of operations for Starship, right? Is the whole idea is you're launching a very large rocket, and when it gets into orbit, it's pretty much empty. It pretty much doesn't have much fuel, maybe just enough for landing, which is what they've been testing. But it doesn't have.
Okay, how it actually works, astronomy. The rocket will work and it pushes up to go to the moon. And what happens is when it detaches, it will go and it will have just enough to get back. So they'll have another half to get back from the moon. So it's going to be on a relay. That's all it's going to be. So it has enough to push it and then be able to return with the payload. It's just going to be on relay. So one will be on the moon, one will be on Earth, and they'll just be relaying the payload right through. That's the plan.
I can answer that question that Joyce asked.
But,
what's
Why
the
is it so
explanation?
restrictive? Because they don't want you to see what's on the other side.
That's right.
Yes, to make it cheaper, man.
It's too cold up there. You don't want to go up there. There's polar bears. They'll eat you. You got to be careful.
Yeah, but the problem is this.
Killer penguins.
It smells like bacon, man. Space smells like bacon.
I thought it
I
smelled
had
like
this like steak. Steak.
The point is, they begging the question anyway. They have to first prove that they went to the moon.
Exactly.
It's already a second law of thermodynamics violation anyway. So they have to get past that.
Well, they definitely got into a little plastic or a paper ship and baked it. That's about all they did.
Yeah. But I love how it always ends up being an argument in Narnia, and they haven't proven you can go to Narnia. It's like they just automatically accept Narnia as a true
Why
thing.
would
And they want you to talk to them about it. And they want you to argue with them about it. Like, no, you have to prove that that Narnia exists, that you actually been to Narnia and back. But they want you to argue, oh, we're going to go this day, we're going to go that day. Well, do it exist? You haven't proved that you went before.
Yeah, we should all go to Mars for vacation. I hear it's really nice this time of year.
Okay, let's go.
Have enough fuel to go all the way to the moon, right? So the idea is then you launch another one and it brings up a little extra fuel. You do this over and over again and fill it up in orbit. And now you have a vehicle that can go to
But we were able
wait.
to do it in 1969.
Yeah, why if that's the case, how come they had enough fuel in 1969?
Because in 1969 they weren't reusing the rocket. That was a one-time use only kind of deal. This is reuse the whole thing.
Oh, right. It has enough
fuel. It's got enough capability to come back. So Starship, it's stainless steel. That's heavy stuff. That's not great when you're trying to build a rocket.
You're saying when it comes back from the moon, it needs to be able to land itself.
So
it needs a lot
get
more
caught
fuel.
by the tower, right? Like they've been doing.
That was crazy. Elon Musk caught a 30-story building.
Forest fires.
Sorry?
Didn't you know that? Didn't you know that stainless steel is now flammable? All you need is a forest fire and it burns up.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Roger.
Amazing.
To chat. He says, just build it already. NASA sucks balls. Oh, man.
Building.
Yeah, but that was more of like a magic trick. I mean, I don't know.
I think we got questions about politicians, but ain't nobody questioning the integrity of that Eratosthenes. I don't.
That is true.
What was that
Sticks
all
and
about?
shadows.
Yeah.
Well, that works with the localized.
I heard he was cheating on his wife. Who knows what's going on?
Primary documentation doesn't even exist of that ever happening either.
Well, the thing is that you can move the light source to the other side, and once you move the light source, you show that the Earth is fixed, and the light source can change its position. So Eratosthenes really didn't prove anything by what he did.
You can do it over.
Yeah.
Did you hear what he just said?
Yeah, he's going against his globe. Well done.
He did.
Yeah, so what you can do, it's simple. You have a closer local sun with divergent rays like we observe, or you have their exponentially very far away light that you have to ignore is divergent and say it's parallel. That's it.
Yeah, how do you propel in a vacuum with no atmosphere? Absolutely, Mr. Jones.
You throw spanners out, mister.
I could actually do that experiment on this table and then show you the math of what size sphere this table is. Because you have different angles, you assume spherical trigonometry.
Can I ask you a question about the stars, constellations?
Yeah.
Okay, so in the globe Earth, you have the northern constellations headed by Polaris on the top, the North Star, which is the tail of the Big Dipper. Okay, and you got some other constellations, the Bear and Cassiopeia and all that around. And then on the southern, you have near the South Pole, you have Octans, Mesmos. There's several other constellations there.
Cross.
Okay, so if the Earth is flat now, how are you going to incorporate those southern stars that in the globe model take up a whole hemisphere? Okay. How are you going to put them into the flat Earth model that only has a dome, does not?
Have you ever gone to a planetarium before?
But a hemisphere doesn't have any straight lines, dude. So you're kind of screwed on that one.
Yeah, what are you talking about? All those stars is a line. He said parallel. It's a horizontal.
But has he ever been to planetarium before? You're sitting on a chair that's on a flat floor, and you're looking at a hemispherical ceiling. It's projecting the lights on there that gives the same constellations. It's just positions. It's even been said that the southern stars could just be a mirror image, which is reflecting off the dome, which gives those new constellations. Which is possible too.
Yeah, because
his argument is that he got to assume that he's on the bottom of a globe. That's his argument. So you're already begging a question right there. But even when you say parallel, you're talking about a measurement. So is it parallel to the surface? That's horizontal. So actually, you're explaining a flat Earth proof.
But
in your example,
the thing is, I would hope Whitset just keeps him on it instead of reversing the bet onto him now. And just say to him, well, you're making that claim now. Can you back it up? You understand?
Oh, yeah, that's easier. Yeah.
Not have a sphere. It only has a hemisphere. How are you going to fit those stars in there?
Yeah,
from the south.
Well, I mean, they could actually be embedded into the firmament itself. But what I actually think is...
Wait, what?
Yeah, yeah.
What'd you say?
They could actually be inside of layers within the firmament itself.
Well, we don't see them.
What do you mean? Oh, you mean from the
I
north?
have to travel.
So you're asking why I can't see them.
Here to the bottom.
The same reason you can't see the Eiffel Tower from your house, dipshit.
Exactly.
Right.
It's far away.
And then here you go again. You begging the question once again because you claiming that you have to travel at the bottom of the globe. You haven't proved that there is a bottom of the globe. You haven't proven no radius value yet. So you're already begging the question yet again. So Witsit, Flatzoid was right. Witsit should be asking him to prove that claim because he's making a claim right now. He should be asking him to prove that claim.
Yep. But it's funny how they always get to the default arguments of why don't you see the northern stars in the south and the southern stars in the north? Well, simply the same reason you can't see your work from your house. There's too far away.
It's crazy. It's crazy that they think if the Earth was flat, you'd see forever. It's so
insanity. Stupid. Just because the Earth is flat, all of a sudden, all known physics for optics just vanishes.
That's true.
To see those stars.
Yeah, I mean, this is
how could they be embedded in the northern hemisphere?
Pretty simple. No, well, I just meant the firmament itself, but I misunderstood your question. It's a pretty simple answer, right? It's like the same reason that street lights look like they're going down.
Yeah.
So in the globe paradigm.
What do you mean?
So if I look at a long street, the street lights are all 10 feet tall, but they're going to look like they're going down.
So you're going to give me the perspective argument.
Yes. Well, that's what it is.
Yeah.
How?
Because the way we actually made these measurements is we actually looked at Polaris and we took an elevation angle to Polaris and we had a horizontal baseline that goes all the way to the zenith underneath Polaris. Now on a globe, obviously, you can extend a horizontal baseline hundreds of miles. And then what we did was went back a little further. The angle changes. Again, flat Earth measurement. The Earth measures flat. To even make the globe model, you had to make flat Earth measurements to get the latitude system. So basically, the perspective causes the star to drop down, just like the street lights, and you keep on making those angle measurements. What they then did was take those angle measurements that change based on your distance, and they put it into a spherical coordinate system.
Yeah, let me show you what it means. This is like, this is a presentation. I did it years ago now. It's exactly, this is what I'm explaining. That's why you got the 90 degrees, okay? That would be John standing under, John standing under him 90 degrees. That would be Polaris. And then moving 80 degrees.
Yeah.
Now, Polaris isn't actually dropping in altitude. It just appears so because he measures it based on 80 degrees because of perspective. So every 600 nautical miles away you go, it creates this grid.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay? And that's
it's
how we got our distances.
Easy to understand.
Yeah, so that would be the 10 latitude, 20, 30, 40, 50. It looks like Polaris is dropping, but it's not actually dropping.
No.
It's just following perspective.
Yep.
And that's how they got the distances on their model. You see? And that is where you have like a limitation, your dome of vision, you would say. It follows over that. See, as they move, it follows over that dome, that vision. That's why it's limited to what you can see. So when you get to the equator, that Polaris has now dropped at the equator and you can't see.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the perfect response to that too. I like
brilliant.
That was a good rebuttal. I think this is the perfect way to respond to that. So so I don't know why he's saying you coming from the perspective argument. That's the response. So it's the only way you could come with that. That's common sense.
Yeah, that's based on optics. The whole observation of the globe is based on taking what we see optically and ignoring the optical effects and calling it physical. So they're taking that drop and they're saying it's physically dropping. And because they're taking it and they're putting it linearly onto a sphere, therefore it's physically dropping. But it's not. It's based on perspective.
System. So,
wait a minute. If the stars come out at night, all the stars come out at night at once. Okay, they're not spread out over time.
Yeah.
And we only see
Have
the
you ever-
northern
whoa, whoa, whoa,
constellation.
whoa. Have you ever heard of twilight before, Sir Genis? So sometimes you can see Mars when it's still light out. It's just dark enough to see it. The stars are always there, even in the
Always.
day. The day they're still there. It's just too light to see them.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Yeah.
mean they come out. Where do
Yeah,
they go
that's-
at night? Where do they
Yeah,
go at
what-
day?
What do he mean? The stars come out at night, and how is that even going against the perspective argument? You
doesn't.
have angles. This is how we get our latitude. And like, what is he talking about? He's denying latitude right now.
Yeah, this is insane.
constellations.
Yeah.
We don't see the southern constellations.
Until you go further south. Right, I mean, you don't even have to go all the way to the
No,
east.
if I went on a flat Earth to the edge, I still wouldn't see them.
What?
You can go to any point
What
on
is
the
he
Earth
talking-
in that circular disk, and you still won't see the southern celestial stars.
Well, the stars are
Why-
spinning, and as they come
Whoa,
over
whoa,
top,
whoa. Why
No,
won't you see
yeah,
it?
yeah,
Why
that's what.
wouldn't you see it? I don't get what he means. Why wouldn't you see it?
Yeah, Winston should have said why.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that doesn't make sense. Theo Megan, thank you very much for $2. She said, sent a meme of Sir Jonas to your Discord DMs. I'll check it now. Let me quickly check. Long.
top
You're
of you
welcome.
in your south, which they're actually more stretched out than in the north, and you can actually see them from a greater distance away than in the north, which is a major problem. I mean, you can see more constellations from a greater distance in the north and the south, which should be symmetrical.
There should be some place on your disk where I can see octans.
But yeah, it's called South Africa. The south. Let me quickly show you the meme. There we go. That's the meme he's talking about. So Jen is completely acting dumb about perspective as being able to see all the stars. Does he think the stars are under the flat Earth? Bro, who said the Earth is a disk floating in space with stars under it? Oh, wow. So that's going to get to that now. That's going to get interesting. Yeah, that's a bit weird. But we did see... we did actually see St. Janus as well when he was debating Pitch Lumen. He also didn't really understand perspective at all. So I wouldn't be surprised that's what he's seeing here.
Yeah, it's just the stars are above us.
Where am I going to see it?
Out south is just away.
Out south.
It's away from north.
Okay, well.
What's the difference?
Tim, because we're running out of time, I want to get your guys' perspective or your reasoning. June 8th, the day that the Earth is 99% lit by the sun. How is that possible?
Because you are interpreting that wrong. We went over this.
No, I'm not interpreting it wrong. Austin, please tell Tim.
Well, that's
that he's wrong.
population. He's talking.
Yeah, see?
Yeah, but it is
Yes.
like it is roughly 65% of the physical sphere in actual
65%.
light.
You can only light if it's a.
Thank you for your super chat, Roger Ledwell. He says that's why we call him Flatzoid. Bam. Thank you very much for the super chat. You rock, man. Really, really appreciate it.
ball. You can only light 50%.
That's
of it.
because they're
Intel processing. Nice.
counting astronomical twilight. as
No,
counting as sunlight.
it's
They
not.
are.
Right,
That's
yes.
not the only thing, though. That's not the only thing that makes it go over 50%. So, what's your argument for why it goes over 50%? It's not only astronomical twilight.
Well,
That's patently
astronomical
wrong.
twilight is the first
Basically
twilight
dark.
that happens.
Yeah.
It's basically dark. You need a telescope just to
Okay.
see it.
It's a
And
No.
Just brought up your point,
Light.
Flatzoid. This what the Globers do. They bring up our arguments and try to make it their argument.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. They do.
So in other words, it
Hijacking. That's
doesn't
right.
light it up.
Hijacking
then.
it.
Alice Stein should have brought Flatzoid and Witsit to the table. It would have been more fair.
Yeah, so
It's like
Tim
3
Pool, if
against
you want
1. Like,
Yeah, so Temple, if you want to have another part 2, me and Witsit will be happy to go on together.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, but that's the thing. What's Scott doing now again? He's fallen into that whole trap. No, you're wrong, but let me validate your question. Let me validate your argument. So, in other words, we're saying that's wrong on a globe, and he's saying, no, it isn't wrong, but let me explain to you how it's dark. So, in other words, not lit up. Okay.
That
It's
is
the same
that is
reason
the
you see
furthest
the moon
extent.
with a glow on it.
Yeah.
Okay, it's filled the whole moon, and then you see a glow around the moon.
Yeah, that sounds like a local light source. But what I want to know is, like, you're going to claim the lights. You have to claim that the light's bending around. Partially bending around.
The first issue is you making the presumption that the claim at first is correct and absolute.
Yeah.
And so that's why I said Alex isn't immediately wrong.
Yeah,
he
yeah.
said that the globe is. Oh, no, hold on.
50% of the ball is lit.
And then he had to correct you. So
The 90% number
population,
counts
because
as
the issue is
population
you're making an
more
argument against someone's argument instead of an argument for what is.
No. He is
What?
explaining your burden of proof that you claim. So you're making a claim, and he's explaining it back to you what you claim, and he wants you to provide evidence for it. That's what he's doing.
Yeah, I don't know how
He's trying
Tim
to
not
reverse
getting
the
that.
burden onto Witsit now.
Yeah, that's what they are doing. The
It
burden
wasn't
is on
Witsit's
them.
claim.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't Witsit's claim.
Yeah, what is known is that something like 90% of the world's population is in dilate, and they kind of stretch it based on astronomical twilight. But if you actually look at the projection of the Earth, if we look at the globe model, right, for those people at where they're located to also be in light and not just astronomical twilight, then the light has to actually cover more than half the ball. So you're going to have to claim the light bends around it, which, don't worry, people have no problem claiming it. They claim whatever they need to. They'll claim that the light will bend all the way around the ball if they need to. Whenever I see mountains from hundreds of miles away, the light just bends around the globe. But that is what he's talking about. There's two different portions, right? The 90% number is technically wrong if you present it as if it's physically impossible.
Speaking of that, I wanted to answer your question about Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Joshua in the wiki, you familiar with him?
Yeah, of course.
He's the guy that takes the pictures.
Yeah.
All right. So I have a big
He's not the only guy that takes pictures, man. There's other photographers too. He's just the one that's famous for it. He's the guy that takes the pictures. Okay, guys, there's no other photographers that take pictures. Okay.
Yeah, Rob doing
section about
bad
that in the book here. He only does it in April and May.
Okay.
Okay. Why is that?
Well, I guess the
Why is that? Because it's not refraction that causes it. It's angle of time of year. He's debunked his own self again.
He's
actually-
not noticing it.
Yeah.
He's not noticing it though. That's what's funny about it. Like these is old arguments. Like
Mhm. Because if it was the claim of refraction, it could happen anytime. It wouldn't be exactly the same time and same day of the year. It's because it's the angle. That's it. Just angle. So therefore not the globe.
weather's better. There's
Well, the weather's changing. Okay. So the water keeps the temperature for a longer period of time than the air does.
Okay.
Okay. So we're just coming out of winter.
Mm-hmm.
The water's cold. The air starts warming up.
Yes.
As soon as that air starts warming up, you're going to get light refraction.
Oh. And does this happen right through the year? Yeah.
terrible.
So refraction only happens a very certain time of year, guys.
According to him.
According
no
to him.
Atmos. No Atmos. It's no Atmo day the rest of the year. It's only happened one day of the year.
Insane. Insanity.
Yeah, so you say it's just all refraction.
Well, that's
you think it's a mirage, though?
Do I think it's a mirage?
I mean, basically, wouldn't that be? We're not actually looking at it. We're
Mirage,
looking at
illusion,
it.
whatever. The reason you're seeing Chicago skyline is because the light beam is being curved by the refraction due to the temperature difference between the water and the air.
Do you know about the Flying Dutchman?
No, Dutch Bros Coffee. I don't know the Flying.
Are you familiar with the Flying Dutchman?
Yes.
Oh God.
It's the boat that looks like it's flying in midair because of an inferior mirage. Once again, debunking the globe, by the way, because it shows that the horizon, the apparent horizon, is not where you see it.
Right. I mean, the horizon is apparent, not physical.
Exactly. Wow.
Tobacco.
Is that a boat?
The ship that was
Yeah.
So they would see ships flying above the water.
Yeah.
In the during the colonial period, and the legend emerged of the Flying Dutchman ghost ship.
Yeah.
It's just refraction of light made it appear that it was higher than it really was.
And sometimes they were upside down.
No,
Yeah.
that's wrong. It wasn't reflection of light that made it appear higher than it was. It was refraction causing an inferior mirage, which causes the sky to be mirrored on the ocean, which means it's flat, to give that mirror, by the way, which makes it look like it's flying. Let's see if I can get a photo of it quickly. Oh man, this is
hilarious because Rob brought this up as like a I got your point.
There we go. See that?
Oh my God, it's levitating! Oh my God,
Where's-
look at that!
Where's the horizon, guys?
The horizon is behind the boat.
Flying ferry. Flying ferry.
In your legs and over your head.
The horizontal horizon is behind the boat with the boat flying over top of it.
Oh wow. Yeah, these guys are actually falling apart little by little. They're just giving more and more to the flat Earth.
Yeah.
But really what happens in those is actually the boat doesn't just get lifted because the water would have to get lifted too, right? Because there's light coming off the water. It's actually that there's like a reflective inferior situation that happens for Fata Morgana. It actually it reflects down, so it creates a mirror effect, so it makes it look like it's up in the sky, but it's actually not. I don't dispute optical effects. What I do dispute is just assuming that the sphere is a certain size, therefore it must bend this certain amount, because I went to that Chicago location, and there were wildfires in the west, coincidentally, so I couldn't see anything. Like, you couldn't even see like a mile. But I talked to all the locals. They said you see it throughout the year. They said it's very frequent, certainly at sunset, that you see Chicago. So it isn't just those couple months or anything. It happens regularly. And then there is an observation that you can predict years in advance, every year, 2 days a year. I think it's in September and February. In Canigou, right, in France, you can see the Canigou Mountains from a distance that should be impossible just using geometry on a globe. And based on that time of year, the sun sets behind the mountains and creates a silhouette. And you can guarantee see those mountains line of sight directly in front of you on that specific day. You can book your flight right now, unless it's like crazy.
Yeah, but you know what?
He has to assume that there's no
theory was
refraction
true.
for that.
He has to assume there's no refraction.
No
dude,
Atmo day again.
Even with the terrestrial refraction, it still shouldn't be seen.
Period.
It's the sun literally is going at an angle that's lighting up the Canigou Mountains. The reason you can't see it the other time is because the light is not being able to light it up. That's what it's showing. It's showing the sun is gone beyond it to make the mountains appear in your line of sight. It kind of increases the opacity, you could say.
Right. And they're missing the point that the argument is based upon measurements and geometry. So they have a claim of geometry and physical measurements of a horizon being a radius value. So that is the Molens Tollens there. So if it's falsifying in any way, or if you saying, well, the horizon is only apparent and not physical, then you debunking your own claim. You back to square one.
Yep. Exactly.
The Flying Dutchman crew upgraded their ship to a cargo freighter.
Wow.
If your theory was correct, you should be able to get something as powerful as the Hubble Space Telescope, point it toward California, and you should be able to see some structure in California.
No.
Why not?
I'll explain it. So like we'll actually use the Canigou explanation because it works perfectly. So before the sun goes behind Canigou, you can't see the mountains. You can't see them. You could only see the mountains once the sun gets behind it. Now, a lot of people would take that picture and say, see, this proves the globe. The mountains below the...
Yeah.
curve of the Earth. But then the sun gets behind it, you can see the mountains. The reason you can't see the mountains at first is because of attenuation, right? That the light gets absorbed by the medium and it can't make it to you. Once the sun gets behind it, now the intensity of light is so much greater, it can actually make it through the medium, right? So the rate of attenuation is not going to affect the image as much, and you're able to see it. Now, even in the globe paradigm, you would have to admit that. You would have to now say at just 150 miles, I can't see mountains that are in front of me because light gets attenuated and absorbed into the medium. So this idea.
Yeah, well, what's it? I've actually got an by me, we've got an airfield, okay, a little airport, and we've got mountains in the background. Some days you don't see the mountains at all. Sometimes you see them. It all depends on how the air is that day. It doesn't mean you can see it all of a sudden because of refraction. The opacity of the air changes with the weather. And that's exactly why you can't see things too far away, because air is not transparent 100%. You got dust in there, you got water vapor in there, you got a whole bunch of fog, you got clouds, you got many things that change why the light wouldn't reach your eyes. Just like it says, attenuation. It's not hard to understand. It's simple optics. It's the same as if you take, I like saying this, takes two people with cigarettes on a dark night, mountains 10 kilometers away from it. They can go as high as they want. There's not supposed to be earth curve. They won't see each other's cigarette buds lit 10 kilometers away. Why? Not because of earth curve, because the light won't reach them.
Exactly.
It's not lumen enough. It's the same.
Idea that you can see
I have no problem with that.
So you couldn't see across the world. The telescope doesn't actually fight attenuation, right? Like we can see stars because we're looking up through the thinnest part of the atmos. And even there, we actually have 1 to 2 degrees. We have almost a whole degree that we can't really know.
Well, what's the farthest you think the Hubble telescope can see through atmosphere of the Earth?
You mean like laterally, like horizontally? Yeah. Oh man, I don't know. It would few hundred miles, because we see a few hundred miles regularly. And Mount Wilson, if you got a higher elevation.
How could you prove a flat Earth then, if you can only see a couple hundred miles?
A few hundred. I mean, we have observations in planes with infrared where we've seen 5, 6.
Within that range of 200 miles, would Hubble be able to see a sublimation of the Chicago skyline?
It's all based on the attenuation of the atmos.
I would tell him, why is he trying to reverse the burden onto you, man? Because the whole argument is that it's refracted up. You understand? So he's trying to now reverse the burden onto him, where he must prove that it is behind a curve and it's just refraction refracting it up. Not it's your burden now to show why you should see something or not see it far away. Thank you, Roger Ledwell. Thank you very much. He says, shadows don't reflect, Roll. They are dumb. Thank you very much for your super chat. You are awesome. Really appreciate it, man. Yeah, light reflects. As far as I know, shadows are not light. But position of a shadow can reflect based on the light around it.
It's always going to be based on the atmos. The light gets absorbed. The Canada proves.
Okay, so your answer is how light's affected, right?
Yeah,
that's what my answer.
Yeah, but you're claiming it's bending at a certain rate. I'm just saying that light's attenuated.
Okay, so I'll say it's attenuated and it's bending.
But I can actually.
How does that prove a flat Earth?
Well, it doesn't. I can prove. Well, yeah, but
wait, how does it prove a flat Earth? You see it when you're not supposed to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's meant to be behind the bloody curve, isn't it?
Right, and then at the very least, is falsifying the globe.
And they call it reflection. Refraction. Why? If it's refraction, why does it always take it to that point, like the horizon point? Why does it not refract higher? Why is it not refracting lower? It's always that point.
Yep.
You have to prove it, right? Like you can prove the rate at which it attenuates based on the actual medium. Based on the turbulence, the turbidity, and the actual.
Okay, so you have third-party factors affecting.
Thank you very much, Roper Overbearing, for your $5. It says, remember in the Truman Show when one of the lights fell from the ceiling?
Yeah, it was Sirius. It was Sirius. The light was called Sirius. Exactly. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Thank you very much for the super chat, Roper. You rock. But yeah, that was actually. I still think that's a good movie. If someone hasn't watched it, which I doubt anybody has watched it, though,
Mm,
still a good movie to watch.
yeah.
Thank you
Oh,
very
I
much.
definitely.
Seeing how the light comes into your eye beam.
How far it can get to you from.
Okay, so how does that prove flat Earth?
Oh, because we can make observations consistently, predict them in the future from hundreds of miles away, where the mountain should be miles at times, up to 2 miles below Earth curvature. I can book a flight.
How could you prove that if light's attenuated and it bends?
How can you prove that? Because your globe claims geometry.
What part don't he understand?
Yeah,
He just interrupting just to interrupt at this point.
Of course.
Like he's asking them the same question over and over again. It's getting ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't think you understand at all. You're not getting it.
If
Well,
I was
the light
with it, I'd be like,
simulation
Rob,
is just
listen.
proving-
If I was with it, I'd be like, okay, Rob, slow down. You asked me a question. Listen. Here's my response. After I respond, you have to rebut or respond back, not ask the same question again. It's called rinse and repeating.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Exactly that.
by the fact you can't see the mountains till the sun sets behind it.
That
right?
means it's something, the light's being affected somehow, right?
It's being absorbed by the medium. Once the sun gets behind, the sun's so much brighter that it makes it through the medium. But you're claiming that it's bending and that I can book my flight right now.
You don't believe
go
in
see
light
that
reflection?
mountain. Yeah,
Light refraction?
I do believe in refraction.
You believe
but
temperature can cause light refraction?
in a singular medium, it can have effects. You can label that as refraction, but Snell's law is based on two mediums.
You see, what you should have actually done here is asked him, well, your refraction is based on what is called terrestrial refraction, 706R. So it's based on a already set value, radius value. So you have to prove that that radius value is true to make that assumption. But the problem you have, you sit in a paradox, that to make that assumption true, you require it to already be there.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, he should have came with that. He should have came with that next.
Mm-hmm.
He missed
Yeah,
that one.
Whitsett has a way of reversing the burden onto himself. So that's just something he has to work on a bit more, I'd say.
Yeah, honestly, when we had the conversation with him, we kind of told him that, but he did. It seemed like he didn't go into the ether. He's sticking to more like flat Earth proofs. Not going in. He went into electrostatic, but he said he wasn't going to like drop that. He wasn't going to drop the ether, but he's not going to bring up something that he cannot validate. So I mean, I really don't have no complaints except little tedious little things, like things that but you're in a live debate anyway, you're going to miss some things. So
Look, he's doing a good job. I got nothing against it. It's just like that. He's got that tendency to be roped into reversing burden, and he takes it a bit with the hook. But other than that, I think he did a great job. Very good.
Excuse me.
Medium, and this word's just thrown around. It's just thrown around. No one can show this in a lab. I keep asking, show me an equation, because according to you...
Wait a minute. My question was, do you believe light refraction can be caused by temperature difference between water and air?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can't discount light refraction like we're just making this up.
No,
right?
no, not when properly defined what refraction means. But to every time to say, I know this amount of refraction's happening without looking at the variables and without actually making the measurements of the temperature gradients, the density gradients, and just saying it must be curving this amount because my presupposed sphere...
We don't say that, as a matter of fact. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, if you look at the Chicago skyline photos, they're all different. Some show buildings coming higher up out of the water. Some show buildings that are thinner than they really are. Some show more color. Others are gray. Every time you take a picture of the Chicago skyline, it's different. Why?
Yeah.
Because you get different attenuation, you get different refraction. All kinds of things are different every single day.
Sure, but when it's clearer outside, we see further. And your paradigm...
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, but you have to claim when it's clear outside, that's when there's the most refraction. Because when it's clear outside, we're seeing the furthest.
Clear has nothing to do with how much the light's refract.
Well, if it's the...
Yes, clear has a lot to do with what you see and don't see. And yes, it does affect refraction as well. Because Refraction is based on what you see. So if it's not clear, you can't see the refracted beam. It won't reach your eye. So, yeah.
Conditions of the medium that are supposedly refracting it, then
The temperature is the cause. Okay.
Okay, and I
Because
was
it makes
saying,
the
No,
air.
the temperature is not the cause. It's one of the variables. It's not the cause. One of the variables for refraction, man. Come on.
Yeah. Thinner or thicker?
one more thing before we wrap up here. The horizon in a globe is like this physical edge of a sphere, right? It's blocking things. It's a physical location. It's geometric.
Glad he worked with
As in, on a globe, there's a physical location called the horizon blocking things in the distance.
That's an apparent horizon.
Wait, is it physical or apparent?
No, you see an apparent horizon because refraction's always there. You're not living in a vacuum.
So
So it's optical then. Yeah.
Right.
Nice. I'm glad he brought this up.
you have no evidence of this physical one. You have to assume it's there. We see the horizon goes up and down, moves all over. We can see from 100 miles away. Consistently, I can shoot lasers over frozen lakes, different colors, different heights, even if they're different distances, they'll stay the same height over frozen lakes.
I've seen.
I can see specular reflections over great distances. If the surface was convex or concave, you wouldn't see that. And there are many. All the evidence shows, and just saying the word refraction isn't a get out of jail card of all the physical evidence that consistently shows we can see way beyond the curve. You have to prove there's a physical hill in front of me blocking things, and there's simply not. I can shoot radar through it.
So I've witnessed a Falcon 9 landing on the drone ship. You know how they land on the.
What has that got to do with anything he just said?
He's not addressing anything he's about to say.
Nothing.
There's literally nothing with what he just said, talked about.
boat in the water. Just after they were doing a dragon test and they accidentally blew up one of their dragon caps.
They say my mic has gone low a bit again. I don't know why.
It's the same. It's just been the same on. It's just the same to me on. It's been on X.
Yes, it's on max. But thank you very much for the super chat, Theo. I have no idea why it's doing that. Really appreciate it, man. I am going to get a new cable now, December, because this cable has seen its cut. But thank you very much. Really appreciate the super chat.
Capsules. They couldn't land at the landing zone because they had debris all over it. So they brought the drone ship in real close to shore, 17.8 miles offshore. So I was able to witness this Falcon 9 landing on the drone ship. The engines are very bright, as this thing's landing. And I'm watching it obscured by the horizon as it's landing 17.8 miles offshore. The bottom 2/3 of the rocket were blocked. According to the globe, that's what I should have seen with refraction accounted for. So yes, refraction's a part of it. Also, it had a nice specular highlight across the Atlantic Ocean coming up to me. That was
Specular highlight across the Atlantic Ocean. So not curved then.
Right. And according to perspective, you seen what you were supposed to see.
Yeah.
According to optics, what you just explained. You seen what
So
you
it's
were
not
supposed to see.
physical, yeah.
So it's not physical. Again. So you just basically just listen to what Whitson said. It's not physical. You have no physical proof. You only explain things due to perspective. You're trying to hijack the perspective argument that flat earthers use and make it your own. And then here and he just explained all that. And here you come and bring on an example where you only using perspective and you only using predictions based upon optics, not a physical earth curve.
He's making Whitson's point to a T.
was very visible. So if it's not curved, why can I see a specular highlight? And then if it's not curved, why is the bottom 2/3 of the rocket blocked after it lands?
You can see specular reflection. It's because that requires a flat surface. And
if it's flat, then why is it blocked by the lower 2/3 of the rocket?
So you made a false claim about the specular reflection that only works on a flat surface because you get a diffuse reflection if it's convex concave. But the horizon's apparent. It rises optically, and the most dense part of the atmos is the bottom. The most dense. So that's going to block the most things from the bottom. Now, you said you accounted for refraction. You did not measure the density and temperature and then put it in a refractive equation and determine how much should be missing. What you did was notice that it didn't match the globe. And then you had to add refraction because you saw too much of the rocket. It should have been more blocked. You assumed, it must be lifted up behind the curve, and it's actually an illusion.
No, I recorded what the temperature was that day. Anyway, so the bottom
but what you recorded the temperature where you are is different than what it is there by the rocket, and is different between the water and all the points.
Right.
And does he have any evidence for this?
No. And then another thing is too, temperature is not the only factor. It's not the only variable that you're supposed to take account of when you're talking about refraction.
It's crazy.
And you still only explain the perspective. You still only explain what is the prediction based upon your optics, based upon your limited view of what you're supposed to see and what you're not supposed to see. And then you just admitted that you just admitted that you've seen too much of this rocket ship.
Exactly.
So,
but I mean,
explain. Like,
I mean, and he also showed he doesn't understand what specular highlight means. Crazy.
Parts of the rocket was blocked, and the bottom part of the rocket's where all the flame is. That's the hottest, brightest part of it.
It's only hot by the rocket, if you haven't noticed that, not where you are. Like if you have a bonfire, it's hot where the fire is.
not the whole force.
Oh my word.
Why am I able to see this dim little part at the top, but not the bright part of the flame at the bottom? And I'm getting specular highlights and reflections off the water that's supposedly flat, yet it's blocking the 2/3 bottom part of the rocket. Last thing I want to ask you, Witz, before we wrap up.
Are you claiming bottoming up obstructions impossible on a flat Earth?
So you haven't explained it. That's for sure.
Entirely new to this.
But here's the thing I want to ask.
That's really a really stupid thing to say because you can actually prove it on a flat floor, dude.
Yeah, we can show many demonstrations of bottom obstruction on flat surface.
This is ridiculous how he's using all of these flat proof. Witcher should be saying, "Okay, Rob. Okay, welcome to
It's like
the flat
he's reading
Earth."
an old script
Guys,
for a new play, and he doesn't have the right answer, so he's just giving the shitty answers he has in there.
But even he's been validated. I mean, refraction itself, he's fighting for refraction, okay? Refraction itself makes bottom-up obstruction on flat surfaces.
Yeah.
This guy is...
Like I said.
Witz, before we wrap up, is you're going to Antarctica for TFE, right? And I applaud you for taking up that offer. So what are you expecting to see? I want to know what you're expecting to see. Are you expecting to see the sun set in Antarctica, or are you not? And if so, why?
I have no idea. I don't actually have an expectation. I don't know. That's why I'm going.
What if the Earth?
Thank you. We don't have an expectation. You know why it doesn't have an expectation? Because
we don't
Flat Earth
know.
doesn't make a claim.
Right.
Never been.
It's really
But
a
you see-
globe plane.
But this is why I say it's a false dichotomy. It's not going to prove if it's flat or not, because Flat Earth
Actually,
doesn't make a claim on it. The
Wasn't
only
a
ones
claim,
making a
it was press
claim,
release.
the only ones making a claim is the globe. They're the only ones that can be debunked or not, because they're the only ones that have a claim. Flat Earth doesn't have a claim. So he's actually just going to waste money. Will it change if it's a flat Earth or not, if the sun shows or not? No. But will it change the fact if it's a globe or not, if it shows or not? Yes. Because the globe only has one way for it to work. The flat Earth doesn't matter how it works.
Well, obviously, this is just to deceive people. It's not really to do anything or learn anything. It's to
Yeah,
deceive.
the more we look at it, yeah.
All I know is I
want to look
wouldn't.
up Buffy in the Urban Dictionary if you guys want to know what his name means. It'll shock you a little bit.
But it's literally a waste of
Can you
money.
believe that?
Earth is flat, but like that. You know what I mean?
Flat like
Like
that.
does that work for you?
No, I think it would be a bowl, if anything, like a basin. The ocean, right, is got upturned.
Then wouldn't you see the sun all the time?
No.
Well, it just gets so far away you can't see it. As to what's going to happen in Antarctica, I don't know. Like that's why I want to go, is because
Like if it gets far away, it would get smaller, not just go down.
Well, technically, it actually does get smaller. Even in the globe paradigm, it gets smaller. It actually changes to noon. It should change again. That's never been measured. But
How do you explain the sun?
With this new AI tool, you can create Pixar-style 3D animated videos with the same characters in different
Sunset.
it's just like the streetlights, right? So like as it moves away, it looks like it goes down, and then it gets so far beyond you can't see it through the air anymore, right? It goes beyond that point. The horizon's apparent. It gets behind the convergence point. Just like railroads converge, if you flipped them on their side, that would be like the sky and the ground. That's what perspective does. And even in the globe paradigm, they claim like when you see the sunset, it's actually not there.
But you're arguing that like the sunset is vanishing point.
Well, yeah, it gets beyond the you could say quote unquote vanishing point. Sure, it gets beyond the limit of your vision, the apparent horizon. It gets beyond the convergence point.
Is that because it's only 27
your eyeballs
miles in
Why
diameter?
is this so
I don't
hard
make
for
any
them
claims
to
as to the size,
understand?
but I will say you can prove this.
It's very hard for them to understand.
Why is this so hard for them to
Because
understand?
if they understand it, it means they're wrong, and they can't accept being wrong. That's the problem.
Right.
It's all psychological, bro.
I mean, hashtag things shrink. Like you flying in planes, you think everybody looks the same size? They look like ants if you could see them at all.
Yep.
Why is it so hard for them to get? Like understand?
Sometimes the sun disappears above the
Maybe you should
horizon,
take art class.
and even when it disappears above the horizon at sunset, it has a perfect horizontal line cutting off the bottom of it. So how's that work? If it's the curve of the Earth, right? But it's not. It's because there are horizontal layers of atmos. The sun moves beyond it, and so all the evidence shows the Earth.
Will you
is-
be willing to admit that the Earth is round if you go to Antarctica, and it looks round?
Well, I don't see it looks round. I mean, I'm gonna take an infrared camera, and I'm gonna probably see.
And by the way, guys, a circle
Wow.
is round.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
What is he saying?
Round. It's just like when they say round, it's a what is it? It's like a just in case thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
mental,
just
psychological
asked
thing.
what do he expect? He said he don't have no expectations. So why would you ask? Will you be willing to admit? There's nothing for him to admit.
That's the same issue but that's the issue they have. I mean, even this is also why Will Duffy has invited me now to talk with him on MDD about this thing. And I'm going to be explain that to him and say it's a false dichotomy. I'm going to explain to him why. And I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm going to say straight. It's a waste of money. Because that's exactly what it is.
If I saw him or I met him, I'd ask him how he's going to pay all those debts from those problems that he has, and if this has anything to do with that.
Theo Megaway says, I'm disappointed laser transit weren't mentioned. I think if they had a longer show, it could have been.
Yeah.
But they were limited to time as well. So, I mean, it was quite a long stream.
Yeah. I mean,
thank
Winston
you
only
very
had
much
like
for the
30
super chat. You rock, man. Yeah.
Winston only really had 45 minutes to speak, honestly.
So, well, we almost finished with the video. Let's do this quickly. Hopefully, we can get the last 3 minutes done quickly.
100, 200 miles in the plane. So Antarctica, the only way it would prove it is if I could fly over the South Pole, pop back up on the other side. I'm very interested in the observation. That's obviously why I'm going. It's 11 days. It's very inconvenient. I don't blame Alex for not going. So it's 11 days. It's super cold.
Alex is scared.
I am scared.
It's also kind of scary in a way, right? So, but we'll see what happens.
We're gonna wrap things up. This was a lot of fun. I love this. It was great to have these varying perspectives, all going at it. And so smash the like button, share the show with everyone you know. We got more.
Yeah, thank you very much. I agree. It was a good show.
Yeah, got it done.
That was good. That was good. I think it would have been better if Alex Stein would have brought another flat earther. It would have been two versus two.
Well, Alex, and what's it? If you want to talk again, let me know. I'll be happy to join you guys. Thank you very much, Skeptic, for your $5 says, I'd like to see flats in place of wits. Thank you very much.
Definitely.
Well, yeah,
really appreciate it.
Of course, it would be better. At least we know we can trust that you're going to do what needs to be done to find the answers, and not just play a game with a bunch of idiots that are making it up.
Well, he sent it twice. Well, it just says once, but thank you very much for the super chat, man. Hey, Rog.
Hey, gentlemen, how are we doing?
It's fine. How are we doing, Sam?
Hey.
You rock. Thank you very, very much for the super chat. I really appreciate it. Okay, so what are you guys' closing statements?
Yeah, I think he did. I think Whitsitt did all right. Like he kind of usually does. But there's a lot of things I don't agree with Whitsitt. But in the debate, it seems he did all right. Like you said, there was a few bits where he should have put the question back to them. Said no, hold on, wait up. That's not what you should be talking about. You know what I mean? They were always begging the question. It's always the same thing. And the guy just didn't seem to take it in. and understand, what it was saying. A few things in that he did, but when it came to when he was on about the mountains, you know what I mean? Seeing it at a long, long distance with infrared and that, he still didn't understand. He said, "Well, that's just normal," but it's not. It's not. So, but it was a decent enough debate. I mean, there was no animosity or anything like that. It was all good. All good.
Yeah, it was a good chat.
But I agree with who said that. Was it Skep? I would prefer to see you in place of Witsit. Totally.
Okay, Ryan.
Just send me. I'm the most honest dude in here, man. I'll tell you straight up like it is. And if somebody's scamming or somebody's lying, I'll find out and I'll make it obvious. But what I want to ask everybody is this: does everybody know what a debate really is? Do you know how debate works?
Of course.
Because what we're doing on here is not a debate, bro. Because nobody brings any evidence. And that's why I think it's kind of dumb to call it a debate, because it really isn't. A debate is when you take two people that have a claim and they both bring evidence for their claim, and then the audience decides who wins the debate. We don't just decide, well, we won because the other guy's a dumbass. We don't just decide that, they won because we didn't have any. That's not how debates work. Debates work in a logical fashion. It's just not about telling somebody they're dumb and stupid, and it's about bringing evidence and showing you how it works, not just claiming it and then saying, well, you're lying because I see it this way. That's not how a debate works.
Well, where's the fun in that, Ryan?
Well,
good point. Good point.
Besides the debate, then you know what I'm saying? It's like, let's go watch this debate. I'm like, why would I go over there and watch it? It's not even a debate. It's just a bunch of people arguing with each other and calling each other stupid. It seems like a waste of time to me.
Well, to be fair, this debate discussion thing they had, it wasn't a formal debate, you could say, it was at least respectable.
Oh yeah, this is.
I do think that astronomy Scott guy was way out of depth there. I think they could have got someone much better than him there, for sure.
I think he has a slight problem with control, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, but that's all anti-flat earthers have.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
He couldn't. I think he couldn't. He had like impulse control, like real bad, honestly. Yeah, but I thought it was a pretty good discussion. I do agree. I do agree with Ryan. It wasn't like a debate.
Let's say you're debating that dogs can smell better than you. Okay, let's just say we're having. Okay, so I would bring in a dog, fact, right? And I would have the dog smell things, and that's how I would prove to you that the dog can smell better than you can. It'd be real easy to do, right? It wouldn't take much. I could do a couple of small demonstrations, and everybody right?
What would you call that then? That would be called.
You can't do that with flat Earth, bro. You can't do that because everybody's got mental blocks in their brain, or there's some kind of
the thing is, Ryan, we'd call that evidence and proof what you do with the dog, but what would they call it? Oh, no. You haven't tried this.
No, they'll just say it's the wrong breed of dog.
Too. That's what they'd say.
Absolutely.
Like you brought a Chihuahua here. We was talking about a pit bull.
Yeah, exactly.
Has this dog gone through the scientific method? Has it been peer reviewed?
How do we know it can smell at all?
Absolutely.
Hey, Flats, I got a question for you, right quick. How can you see a full silhouette over a curve?
You can't.
That's what I was thinking too, dude. That's my rebuttal for it right there. That's just stupid.
Good question.
Yeah. Reg, you got a clear statement?
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty good discussion, but like I said earlier, I see a little. I kind of suspected Witsit to go into electrostatics when they talk about gravity. So,
of course,
I would like for him. I suggested to him when we did have that discussion to, if you're going to bring that up, say like this is what you believe, but bring up the other point that flat earthers, utilize, so bring the other point up that it takes energy, seeking equilibrium, relative density, bring that up, because you still believe in that too. I mean, you still know that's to be true as well. So I think I was suspecting him to do that, and I knew they was going to try to pigeonhole him into ether, and he did pretty good with that. He didn't let them, he didn't take the bait as much, when they try to put him into that argument. So
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah, I hear you, bro. I hear you.
Yeah, and Roger.
Mr. Jones has something.
Basically, I pretty much said what I was saying, but Witsit actually did shock me. He actually made a lot of FED points, like just measurements to start with. That wasn't the best part, I think.
And see, this is the reason why I get mad
it's
when
enjoyable. Ryan, what'd you say?
Yeah.
So that's the only reason why I get upset when everybody picks on Witsit, because he really is smart and he does actually do his homework. I'm not saying that he's always right, because he has a lot of theory stuff, but you know what? There's not really much you can do about it. The Earth is made in a way where you have to assume things. You don't really have a choice because you can't really get a look at it. So you have to make assumptions.
But that's theory. Yeah. You don't bring this up in debates, though. That's what I'm trying to say.
You know what I mean, though. But at least he's true to the basics, and he likes to bring a lot of new stuff in. But it makes people think. I like that idea. I don't think there's anything wrong, as long as you know going into it that it's a theory. Right?
Yeah.
Well, you see, I think I did enjoy what Witsit did. I think he did a great job. Small things that obviously he can work on. He's definitely upped his game a bit more. So shout out to Witsit. I think he did a good job overall. He just has to work on spotting the fallacies that rope him into reversing the burden onto him, I think, a bit more. Other than that, I think he did a really good job. Alex Stein, I think, also did actually very good. I was surprised, actually.
I like Alex is it. He's a true. Yeah. He's really a genuine dude, believe it or not. He acts like he's kind of like me. He's like a big goofball, but he is a genuine brother. You know what I mean? He's a genuine dude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's more of a joker, but he's a comedian. So, but with the Scott guy, Astronomy Live, I think he was mismatched to be there. I think he was outclassed. I don't think he was really in the same league. He might sort of sound like he knows what he's talking about with some aspects because of his astronomy things, but on the most part, the guy didn't actually understand half the things that was being discussed there. And
almost like he was reading the script but didn't understand the content.
Yeah, he was sounding like he was getting his information from McToon. And when it came to Dr. Sangenis,
well, we all know that's where everybody gets it, right?
Yeah, when it came to Dr. Sangenis, I enjoyed his discussion on the most part, except the fact he doesn't understand perspective at all. He has no clue about perspective. That's it. And I think Tim Pool did a good job, except when he had to kind of stop them to show Wiki the whole time. You know what I mean? But that was about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was a good show. I got to get to bed now, guys. I got work. You guys rock. I appreciate everybody. Appreciate you all for the super chats. There was quite a few tonight. You guys are awesome. Please hit the likes if you haven't already. Press the super chat. Press the shares. And I'll see you all tomorrow night. It's going to be another fun, exciting show. So thanks, guys, for coming. Thanks for joining.
Night, everybody.
Night.
Till tomorrow. Many blessings. May the pressure be with you.
Ta-ta.
Ta-ta.
Crafted signs of the divine. I'm made for something true. In God's plan, my path renews. Flat earth made by Him. My journey long yet thin. Purpose found in every day. Guided by